Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for making time to join us. This is Sound Candid Talk, open forum political discussion show. The show that gives you an opportunity to air what you feel and think about the latest development on our political front. Well, the story about the interference of the army, Kenyan army for that matter, into the political atmosphere is not sitting well with majority of both political leaders, as well as the civil society and ordinary Kenyans. The matter is building up, and it is not indicating to die any soon, because there are warnings and counter warnings about that statement of interfering with the agitation of the Kenyan people over the matter of William Ruto must go. Now, the army pronouncing herself and saying that needs to be done within the framework of the Constitution has stirred up arguments and counter arguments in the country over this matter. And that's why we revisit again as we start our conversation. Let's look at this keenly so that we can get a lasting solution to the same. Should the army interfere with the political agenda of the day? Will the army be okay and in order to make comments about the political situation in the country? That forms part of our poll question, which we need your response on the same. Please make sure that you respond appropriately. Your yes or no answer is required, as well as thumbs up on the video, and then of course share the video widely as you invite many people from every walk of life to be part of this great conversation. This is one place where the whole world gathers to look at the Kenyan politics and how to handle each and every aspect of the same. It appears that the determination of William Ruto to go to the mountain is not relenting in any way. And so we are still in for another week of great intrigues as politics play. And of course, there are those who are taking the safe as part of the same in ensuring that whatever it is that they are advocating for, it is within what they can afford and within what they believe can be allowed. But this aspect of the CDF, that is chief, the head of the KDF, his remarks are not being taken lightly, and the latest way on the same is the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, and he had a mouthful of things to share with this particular army officer, and so we'll start with that particular story, even as we launch into the deep to look keenly on our Kenyan politics. The link to use to get in the studio is already in the comment section. Please click on it, allow StreamYard to configure for you the camera as well as the audio. Find yourself in this space for us to get talking. Well, let's look at what is happening with our KDF leaders as they plunge themselves into the political uproar by reason of their statements. Let's look at this as we start the conversation. Come on, Akuja Studio, wai mapema.
On the inner workings of the secretive National Intelligence Service, NIS. Ayub Abdikade reports on how the general's remarks stirred public controversy, with a section of Kenyans questioning the motive of the military in a constitutional democracy.
My name is Nordi Mohammed Haji.
At the National Intelligence and Research University, and in a rare event where the National Intelligence Service came out of the shadows to face the cameras. At the gathering were invited academics from an array of institutions in the country. The Law Society of Kenya, represented by its president Faith Odhiambo. Also present were representatives from the civil society, university students, Bunge la Wananchi and the media. It is at this event the country's top spy master Nordi Haji opened up, giving the gathering a rare glimpse into the operations of the National Intelligence Service.
Through this lecture, citizens of this great nation are invited to gain insight into a realm that has historically been cloaked in secrecy. Intelligence by its nature, operates in the shadows. It thrives on discretion and anonymity, handling information that is rarely discussed openly.
Haji's lengthy presentation titled A Public Lecture made him the first head of intelligence service to undertake such an assignment.
Intelligence agencies have engaged in open dialogues to emphasize their role in national development, security, and diplomacy. And today, the National Intelligence Service takes a bold step in this shift towards transparency and public engagement in security matters.
I, Charles Mureu Kahariri.
But among the participants and the high-level government representatives was General Charles Kahariri, the Chief of Defense Forces, and who is the Chancellor of the National Intelligence Research University. It is his statement on the current political events in the country that was to trigger public controversy and seemingly turning the intentions of the rare public lecture on its head.
So wakati watu wanaamua kwamba tumechoka na hii serikali na mulichagua wenyewe, alafu mnasema must go. That must go must be done according to the constitution. Si ni kweli?
By referring to the Ruto must go slogan, synonymous with critics of the government, the general inserted his military finger into hornet's nest. The Ruto must go chants have become a regular happening in public gatherings in what appears to be a continuation of the discontent against President William Ruto's administration. Discontent which manifested itself through the Gen Z-led demonstrations which rocked the country in June 2024. During the demonstrations, the government took the unusual step of deploying the Kenya Defence Forces to the streets of Nairobi and other towns as part of the effort to contain the fiery youth-led protests. General Kahariri, in his unwritten speech, defended the deployment.
Yeah, so that's why people question kwa nini military inakuwa deployed. We have a responsibility. We took an oath to defend the constitution, to defend the republic, and that's why it is necessary that the security institutions are professional, and the professionalism will come through academic exploits, through such institutions.
His remarks triggered chain of reactions, especially on social media, where a section of Kenyans faulted the remarks by the general, terming him political and partisan.
So this issue of how politics goes and all that, and by the way, the military, one of the core values is that we are apolitical. We don't support any political side. We defend the constitution and the government of the day, duly elected by the people.
Besides stepping on raw political nerves, especially among the critics of President William Ruto, Kahariri's remarks have now overshadowed what appeared a rare outing for the intelligence service, an engagement with the public on broad issues of national security, including global threats and dynamics, ended up taking a back seat as the raw thread of the post-Gen Z protests took center stage. Ayub Abdikadir, Citizen TV.
And after Kahariri's remarks, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is tonight calling out the Chief of Defense Forces, General Charles Kahariri, over those remarks on the Ruto must go slogan.
Okay, mambo ni kama hayo. Wakenya wamechacha, wanasema Chief wa Defense Forces akae kwa barracks, achane na Wakenya wafanye siasa vile wanavyojua, bora tu hakuna kuvunja sheria. Alafu hili suala la kuhusisha ami katika kushughulikia masuala ya kurejesha amani wakati kuna maandamano inakaaje? Kulingana na ile ratiba iliyowekwa last year's June protests, kikao akikuwa rasmi, kilikuwa tena kwa siri ambako Wetangula na wenzake wakapitisha kwamba military itolewe kutoka barracks ikakuje kujaribu kulinda serikali ambayo inabomoka. Sasa tena wameanza upya kuanza kusema nini? Kushinikiza sasa Wakenya wasiseme Ruto must go. Ni kipi hiki ambacho kinaendelea na ni vipi ambavyo tutakavyotatua? Na kukaribisha mahala pote ulipo, makinika kukaribisha mtu, uliza swali kama unalo, na hakikisha kwamba unajibu pia wakati tunaposhangazwa na mambo mengi tu ambayo yanakumba nchi hii, ile hali viongozi ni kama hawasikii, hawataki kujua na wanataka Wakenya waendelee kuteseka. Sasa hii ndio imeleta shida. Sasa hili suala la wana usalama kuonya Wakenya wasiseme Ruto must go, inatokana na nini? Ni kipi ambacho kimekwenda mrama na ni vipi ili suala litakwenda kushughulikiwa? Kwa sababu kwa wengi tu ambao nimesikiliza ni kwamba huyo Kahariri amefanya nini? Anavunja sheria, anavuka mipaka wakati anapoanza kushughulikia masuala ya siasa ya nchi, na anazungumza kwa nini, kwa niaba ya nani, nani kamtuma, na ni wapi katiba inasema wananchi wanyamazishwe kwa sababu rais hapendi na army haipendi, polisi haipendi na parliament haipendi. Kulingana na mujibu wa sheria ambayo tunayetumia saa hii 2010 constitution, wa Kenya ndio wenye mamlaka juu ya kila kitu na kila mmoja katika nchi hii, na kama Wakenya wakupendi au kutaki, basi lazima wasikilize, kwa sababu they are the sovereign according to the constitution. So the army and the police and the other apparatus are not the ultimate, and they should not be taken as ultimate. The ultimate rule of this country is the constitution. The constitution gives all power to the Kenyan people. And so if the Kenyan people say Ruto must go, the Kenyan people should be listened to. Or whatever it is that is making Kenyans to say Ruto must go, that issue must be addressed for us to be able to move from here to the next level. So I invite your input. Thank you those that are joining from wherever you are. Please tukue mstari wa mbele kukaribishana. Sound Candy Talk Live 10 people. Sound Candy Talk 2 people. Facebook wajaamka waamshe. Tawapigia mtu simu mkumbushe show imeanza, na tuko hapa tumechacha, tunataka ukweli wa mambo. KDF mbona anainterfere na masuala ya siasa za nchi? Hiyo ni professionalism ama ni kuzembaa katika kazi zao na kutojua ni lipi ambalo linapaswa kutoka vinywani mwao na ni lipi ambalo halistahili kutoka vinywani mwao? Na kukaribisha, tafadhali makinika kukaribisha mtu na njoo studio tukazungumze. Link nishaweka kwa comment section, tafadhali na waomba njoo mapema tukazungumze mapema, tufungashe alafu tutalala. Asante sana kwa kila mmoja. Naomba tuangalie video hii tunapo wasubiri nyinyi mtoe maoni yenu. So this aspect of the KDF being told to stay in the barracks and keep off politics, our tradition, or rather our operation as a people has been like that, where the military has remained professional and everything about the governance of the country, it was not called upon until it has done what? Until it has been authorized and it's been ventilated on, and the advantages and the disadvantages have been made bare, so that that decision is taken out of soberness, not out of reacting to some statement somewhere or to some fears somewhere. So I really need us to look at this keenly. Is Kahariri overstepping his mandate, or is within his mandate? And if he's within his mandate, is this the best way to address matters as far as public necessity is concerned? Thank you everyone. Please, nakusubiri hapa unipe ujumbe wako, nakusubiri hapa unipatie vile unavyoona mambo haya. Kwangu mimi haya yanatisha. Kwa nini? Kwa sababu tuna historia ya kuwa police state, tuko na historia ya kuishi chini ya hofu kwa sababu ya askari, na singependa turudi huko. Kwa hivyo wakati unasikia KDF inasema hao ndio watatushughulikia kama tutakuendelea kusema Ruto must go, and then NIS wale ambao wanapaswa kusimamia intelligence na collect intelligence all over the country so that the government functions from the point of information are the ones warning us not to say Ruto must go. Now that I find it to be very fascinating because we are not here to, just malign somebody or talk ill of someone. If whatever it is that is being spoken about is a reality in one's life, then change is inevitable if you're going to save this great country. And so I'm calling upon us. Let's look at this holistically and not just with our prejudice of our political or tribal or regional analysis. I really want Kenyans to sober up and Kenyans to make wise decisions as far as the leadership of this country is concerned. And so whatever it is that we are being treated to, and whatever framing that is being done so that we remain slaves and remain unable to stand for ourselves, speak for ourselves, and insist on the right path. Now, that needs not to be compromised. Our rights, our human rights, our Bill of Rights in the Constitution should not be curtailed by anyone. And so we must watch out, or we will fall back into being a police state where the police is sovereign, the president is sovereign, and the so-called army is sovereign. And so when those roles change, this country will never be the same again, and the Kenyan people will never be able to express themselves as they ought. And so we must all question these things as we analyze and, of course, be able to practice what we stand for, and that is our stand with what is true, what is just, what is valid, cannot be exchanged for anything. And so I appreciate everybody who is joining. Thank you so much. I can see Reverend Lala is already here. Na wengine ambao mnakuja, tafadhali wai mapema. Leo Jumamosi, basi Jumapili iko karibu kufika, hakuna kukawia unless nipata Alexio ambaye ataendeleza kipindi kama mimi nishazama. Na kuomba tafadhali makinika katika kutekeleza wajibu wako kama Mkenya mzalendo, na tujue mbivu na mbichi ya mambo haya yote. Tusijifiche katika tribalism, tusijifiche katika regionalism, tusijifiche katika political party. Tuangazie swala hili, genesis yake inatoka wapi, mizizi yake iko wapi, na kama tukaliachilia, Kenya itaendelea kuwa vile ilivyo ama kutakuwa na mabadiliko yasiyo na kifani. Asante. Naomba nimlete Reverend Lala naye achangie kwa swala hili na mengine tu ambayo tunayaangazia. Reverend Lala, welcome. How are you today?
I'm well, Bernard. It's good to see you. How are you?
Doing better. Thank you so much. Karibu.
Good to see you. Trust God is doing his work in you to give you that physical energy and strength you need. And I'm Jumbo, all of you in the background. Bernard nilikuwa nasikiza, and I watched that the clip that you played on the military involvement in the political life of a nation. I think one thing that Kenyans must know is that military everywhere, especially their heads, don't speak. They don't give opinion one way or the other. They are supposed to be apolitical because they serve as a powerful symbol of national unity. When we have a function, you see the military is there to play the parades and the music and all that. Is a very, very powerful symbol of a national unity. And so they are supposed to be apolitical. In other words, they take care of Kenyans. They can't take sides, because if they take side, then those are become combatant, because their role is to defend the country from external aggression, for external enemies, for those combatants. So they avoid inside, in-house issues. So when the general himself stepped out to give his political opinion, which appear to side with the political office in the form of the president, then is actually making a very bad mistake, because what it's doing is bringing Kenyans against Kenyans. Because when you become a political leader, does not mean you don't have enemies. There are other parties. There are people who don't believe in your agenda, in your political stand. Okay, and they have the right, because that's the Constitution, allow us to have different opinion. And that is a place where Kahariri and this group stopped. They can't cross over into the differences. They stay outside, because that's the role they've been called to serve. So when he made those mistakes, I think he owed Kenyans an apology. He should not. Kenyans can say Ruto must go. Kenyans can say, Lala must go. Anyway, that is their political right. In fact, it is Kahariri and others who should be defending that, because that's what he took the office to defend. So he's the one who should be coming and saying, continue on. The only thing is that you shouldn't be violent, but you have every right to disagree, to critique what's going on, because that's what democracy is all about. So I think this man did us wrong, and I think he should apologize or tell us, give us better context, why he was speaking, because all of us believe now that he's taking side of the president. Okay, he's taking side as if the president has replaced the Constitution, which is the national, that what brings us together, defines who we are. So if the presidency has replaced the Constitution or is using them synonymously, with each other, then it's very ignorant lead and head of the military. So I agree with you that I think he's stepping on a very dangerous territory. His office should not be engaged in this at all. And so I agree with the people who are asking why this man is doing this. I think let me step back and hear what else is going on. Thank you. Back to you, Bernard.
Okay. Thank you, Reverend Lala. We appreciate that. Good start indeed, even as we extensively dive into this particular understanding. Now, Lala, you remember in the clip when Kahariri talks about the whatever, talks about Kenyans should not talk about Ruto must go, and Ruto can only go constitutionally, and the army exists to defend the current administration, and of course they would want to enforce that. Now, I want you as a security expert, give us the probable reasoning behind that statement, because that statement is not empty. It's just, a forerunner of something that could be cooking in the kitchen. What is this that informs these security officers to speak openly about a matter that is emotive, and they know it's emotive, and they know majority of Kenyans are not buying into the same? What could be the probable reasoning behind this, Reverend Lala?
Bernard, this is what is confusing, because when you step out of your line to speak on a matter that seems to puzzle every one of us, then we start asking question, what is really behind? In other words, you allow a lot of speculation. Was there a group calling themselves Ruto must go who are armed and trying to overthrow the government or something is going on here? Because that is a political statement. That is what Kenyans can say anything. We don't want you to, that's a guaranteed speech. Okay, so when you start telling us something as security team that this thing cannot be said, nobody can speak, about this, then give us a little bit more information. And of course, even if that was the message, you as a security person should not discuss it. In fact, your job is to be able to relay that message to either the defense or internal security or the presidency, so that they are able now to unpack that. Your job is not to. Your job is simply to gather information, security matters, and law enforcement issues, and leave them there. Okay. So to be able to tell us that these are words we should not use, then the next thing would be what we should use as Kenyans. So I think there is a danger there. So explanation is needed for Kenyans to understand what is behind trying to gag Kenyans from chanting Ruto must go. I think we wait to hear from Hariri plus the intelligence guy, chief guy, because from purely security perspective, it's a safe. This is something that's been discussed at second level, but then the person to speak to Kenyans should not have been security person. It should have been somebody political appointee to be able to explain to us why Ruto must go is something dangerous. Because to me, it's not. It is a freedom of free speech. Okay, it's protected by the Constitution, and so whoever tries to tell people not to say it is actually the one who is not constitutional. So so I can easily say that Kahariri, whatever his name is I believe he's an intelligent guy, went to school, understands security matters, and why he would get into politics baffles me. I don't understand it. Let him tell us what is it that's going on. Back to you, Bernard.
Thank you, Reverend Lala. Interesting times indeed, even as different Kenyans give their different response on the matter. I want us to have a test of one of the key political analysts that has given an analysis that I think is worth considering because it appears that Kenyans are just, I've had enough of the turns and the twists. And so they are not taking any chance with the trying to, justify what is happening. They look at it as an extended scheme to try and make Kenya a military state, or as whatever, a religious state where things will be done a certain way, and if not, people are going to suffer consequences. Now, with all this at play, it's important that we, as a people, begin to look at the Bill of Rights, look at what the Constitution has made available, look at what is what's cooking in terms of the changes that are taking place within the society. Lala, your microphone is on. It's giving feedback. Are you okay?
Oh, okay. I want to say something, but that's okay. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Yeah. As a society, our vigilance, our vigilance is what holds our salvation in terms of the determined forces that wants to stifle and want to control what Kenyans should say and not say, because the really issue here is not Ruto must go. The really issue that the military and the other security forces should be concentrating on is why are people saying Ruto must go? That's what needs to be a matter of discussion. Because if you are telling people not to say, and you are not addressing why people are saying what they are saying, it just simply means you don't want to hear what people are saying. You don't want to hear what the reasons behind the outcry of the people. And so you are part of the deviating of the focus of the people from the really problem to your own imagined supremacy. Yes, Reverend Lala.
A government can protect itself and can use different propaganda tools to disseminate propaganda, okay? Including media outlets, social network, and all public speeches, but they cannot use the military. That is a no-no. They cannot use the military. And so for the chief to be allowed to be used to propagate a propaganda is wrong, is illegal, is anti the constitution. That's what I wanted to say. Back to you.
Okay, so asante sana Reverend Lala, nashukuru. I'm still finding that video. When I get it, I'll be able to play it. It's a bit long, so let's hear Jakindu Bay first, and then we can dive into the analysis. Hali vipi dadi?
Salama sana, mjambo.
Atujambo, karibu.
Asante sana. Bernard, mimi kabla sijasema kitu juu ya hii military, kwa sababu jana nilisema hawa watu wa military wajue kwamba hii serikali ni ya raia, si serikali ya kijeshi. Kwa hiyo wafanye kazi yao ya kijeshi, waache kuinterfere na hii mambo ya siasa. Lakini at the same time nataka kusema hivi Bernard, unaona haya ndio mambo mimi nasema, mambo ya kuiga, tunaiga vitu ambavyo tunaletewa na wazungu, tunasemekana hii ndio demokrasi. Hii haitatusaidia popote, kwa sababu ya kuiga vitu ambavyo hatujui. Kwa sababu sisi wakati tulipata uhuru tulishindwa kukaa chini na kuangalia tunataka kufanya mambo yetu kivipi. Tulifuata tu kwamba basi tunaenda hiyo bila kuangalia environment yetu iko namna gani. Kwa sababu kusema kweli, sisi ukikaa chini na ufikirie vizuri na uangalie, sisi kama Afrika hizi vyama vingi hazitufai. Mimi nasema hivyo kwa sababu hizi vyama vingi, hata ukiangalia sahihi, hizi vyama zote ziko, ukiziangalia kwa makini, ni vyama za kikabila. Kwa sababu mtu yote unapoanza chama, kama we ni Mkamba, Wakamba wote watakuwa wapo nyuma. Kama we ni Mpokomo, Wapokomo wote watakuwa pale nyuma. So hizi vyama hatukuangalia kwa nini? Kwa sababu mimi naweza kusema wakati wa Kenyatta tulikuwa na chama kimoja tu, KANU, lakini debates ulikuwa unaenda pale bunge kuona debate. Watu walikuwa na debate bila uoga, bila mapendeleo. Unaona, hata wakati wa Moi, wakina Orengo walikuwa na debate, chama nilikuwa ni kimoja. Waliharibu tu kwa sababu hatukuwa na misingi ya kuzuia mtu tusianze kunyanyasana, kufunga watu, sijui. Manake hata sasa tuko na vyama vingi, lakini bado tuko na hiyo kunyanyasana, kufungana ovyo, kushika watu, kuwa. Hizi ni vitu ambavyo tunatakiwa tukatae. Mimi nataka kusema kwamba hizi mambo tunasema demokrasia ni yale mambo ambayo tunajipangia sisi wenyewe. Kwa sababu hizi demokrasia, kuna vitu vingine uwezi kufanya hapa Uingereza, lakini Kenya utaifanya, kwa sababu Kenya ni sheria, ni demokrasia yetu. Kwa mfano niseme Kenya iko kwa mila zetu na sheria zetu. Unaweza kuwa wanawake wengi Hapa Uingereza ukiwa wengi unafungwa. Unaona? Kuna vitu vingine unaweza kufanya hapa Uingereza, lakini huwezi kufanya Kenya. So hizi vitu kusema demokrasia ni zile vitu ambavyo sisi wenyewe ilikuwa inafaa tuangalie hizi ni vitu ambazo zinatufaa kama jamii, na hii ndio tutafuata, kwa sababu haya mambo ambayo tunapatiwa tufanye haya yanatuletea tu ukabila mtupu. Kwa hiyo mimi nataka Wakenya tujiangalie, kama tunataka hizi vyama zitusaidie, tuziangalie bila ukabila. Tukae kwa hizi vyama bila ukabila ndani yetu. Tuache mambo ya ukabila, kwa sababu ukabila inatuletea fujo. Hata ukiangalia Rwanda ni watu si kabila, lakini kuna Wahutu na Watusi, lakini si kabila, wanazungumza lugha moja, lakini angalia vile waliuana. Angalia vile waliuana, wanauana kinyama na ni watu moja, jamii moja. So ni lazima sisi wa Afrika, ni vizuri sana hata hizi tukisema hizi vitu, angalia sahi watu wa Central Province wanataka kuanzisha chama ambayo ni yao ya Central Province. Sasa hiyo chama itakuwaje ya Wakenya? Hii ni vitu ambavyo hazifai. Sasa nataka kusema kitu labda haihusiki na hapa, lakini nataka kusema kwa sababu inaniudhi na naona ni jambo la ni kutokuwa na nidhamu na watu ambao nasema sijui kama ni bado wanalala ama namna gani. Huyu mjumbe Salasia, si anaitwa Salasia, nimeona kwenye mitandao, hata yeye nimesema watu wanasema ati amepigwa na Wajaluo. Sasa mimi ninachindwa, Wajaluo walimpigaje? Ukipigwa na Onyango ni Wajaluo, ama ukipigwa na Otieno ni Wajaluo. Umepigwa na Otieno, kama umepigwa na Otieno na Onyango ni Otieno na Onyango au Wafula na sio kusema ati nimepigwa na Wajaluo na nimepigwa na tumegombana na mtu mmoja ambaye ni Otieno. Si Wajaluo, huyo sio Wajaluo. Sasa hii mambo ya kusema ati sijui Wajaluo, hizi vitu nataka kuangalia vile Wakenya tuko wapumbavu. Unawezaje kusema umepigwa na mtu mmoja? Na ilikuwaje Nyayo Stadium? Ilikuwaje Nyayo Stadium nani uko Kasarani? Anaweza kutuambia Wajaluo hao walikuwa kina nani? Alikuwa na majina yao, na kama ako na majina yao, sio Wajaluo. Aende watafute. Hii mambo ya watu kusema ati Wajaluo, mimi nawaambia Wakenya waache vitu ya upumbavu namna hiyo, kwa sababu sidhani kama Wajaluo wangeenda kumpiga Salasia kama angebaki Wajaluo. Kama sasa anaita Wajaluo wote waje wampige, angebaki. So hiyo mambo ni kusema, angalia basi hiyo ujinga. Unapigwa na mtu mmoja au watu wawili au wewe umekosa. Na kwanza huyo Salasia mimi nimemwangalia, ana fujo kila mahali, anatoa fujo. Nimemwona hata huko Kakamega ametoa fujo kwa nani? Sasa yeye ni kiongozi gani ambaye saa zote anatoa fujo? Wanasema ukiwa mtu wa fujo, vitu utapatiwa na fujo tu. Mtu kama nilimuona, unawezaje kumtusi Raila? Raila ni mzee, na hata kama sio mzee unatusi kiongozi mwenzako. Kwa nini? Kwa nini unatusi mtu? Hiyo ni kukosa adabu na nidhamu. So hawa watu ambao wanasema Salasia waangalie matamshi ambayo yanatoka kwa mdomo yake. Hiyo Wakenya waangalie vitendo vyake. Kama wewe ni mtu ambaye anaheshimu wenzake, hakuna mtu, mbona wajumbe wengine sijaona mtu akigombana nao, akipigana nao. So ni kitu ambacho nataka tuikemee kabisa. Sisi kama Wakenya tukemee lugha kama hiyo ya upuzi ya kusema ati Wajaluo. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo. So naomba Wakenya tuachane na hii mambo ya ukabila, wachana na kabisa, kwa sababu anasema sijui hawajatahiri, sijui ni hii mambo ya kutahiri haipeleki mtu popote, it's nothing. So hawa watu ni watu walio washamba, naweza kusema ni washamba, watu hawajui dunia inaelekea wapi. So naomba Wakenya, mi bado naomba, hiyo ndio maana tuko katika hii mambo ambayo inatusumbua saa hii, kwa sababu kama tungekuwa na mipango zetu ambazo tumepanga wenyewe, hata president hatuwezi kuwa tunasema tu president lazima awe ni kabila letu, lazima awe na kabila zingine, kwa sababu sisi wote ni Wakenya. So hiyo ni kitu naomba Wakenya tujiangalie rohoni kabisa, tujikosoe kiroho. Nilimuona Mili aliwauliza aliwaambia Wakenya, let's look ourselves, tuangalie roho zetu, tuangalie hii ni nchi yetu, tunaenda wapi, tunataka nini katika nchi yetu. Asante sana Bernard.
Okay, thank you, Jack Ndube, for that elaborate outlook on the situation in the country. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue to engage, we invite your input on this matter. And of course, the poll question reads, should the military be invited into the political discourse in the country? Is that healthy? Your yes or no response is required. And those following us on TikTok, please put your question in the comment section. We'll be able to respond to the same. What is happening in our country is unprecedented in the sense that we have never had this before. And why it is happening is also unfathomable, because it's abnormal. I don't know who can make that happen when the constitution is clear and when the agitation of the people should not be curtailed in any way. If we allow this to go unpunished or to go without consequences, then we are signing in for the return of the police state, which we will never be able to survive with. It is important that we as Kenyans dig in and ensure that the 2010 constitution doesn't become a piece of paper, but a living document that will safeguard Kenyans in their pursuit of the life that they need to have by reason of their freedoms in the constitution and in the society. And so we can conclude that Kahariri and Haji are not men of their own. There is a force behind them that is making them make this kind of blunders, because you can't make this kind of blunders when you're sober, you're vigilant, you're looking at the whole country. And so, like what Gachagua said, I think the KDF needs to keep off the politics, keep off being influenced by the political class in saying and doing things that are unbecoming. Let's just hear what Gachagua said, and then Lala can come in.
At KTN News, KE at Dennis Aseto. Our hashtag is Weekend Prime. But now let's go straight to our top story. These are: former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has lashed out at the Chief of Defense Forces CDF General Charles Kahariri and NIS DG Nordi Haji and told them to keep off politics. Gachagua termed the sentiments by the two on the status of President William Ruto as worrying, noting that defense forces should remain apolitical. The CDF had defended the presence of the military to quell Gen Z demos last year and warned those seeking to oust the president through chants that the military would not allow this. He was speaking in Naivasha, where efforts by the police to stop him from addressing them were thwarted by the public.
wasilete siasa kwa mambo ya majeshi. Majeshi kazi yao ni kulinda Kenya from external enemies. And that is the work of the military. So wewe usiingizwe kwa mambo ya siasa ya William Ruto. Hata ukijaribu kusaidia William Ruto, pahali mambo yake imefika saa hii general, uweze msaidia. Hawa wananchi wamewachana na yeye. Mmewachana naye ama bado? There is no way you can help him. So tunauliza general, please let the military remain a professional outfit, because it is the only institution that the people of Kenya trust. So don't bring politics into the military.
Kwa nini hiyo pesa ambayo unaokota, hii ambayo unazungusha, mpaka anasema sasa amefanyia Kenya kazi yote, ile kazi amebakisha ni ya kutupikia chapati, na nyinyi mnajua chapati milioni 1 kwa siku moja.
Elsewhere, DAP-K leaders have asked the military and the National Intelligence Service to keep off politics. Led by DAP-K leader Eugene Wamalwa and Bumula legislator Jack Wamboka, they observed that the mandate of the two is well spelled out by the Constitution. Wamalwa added that politics is reserved for the politicians and it creates a conflict when the latter abdicates on its role of securing the borders and start.
Reverend Lala, you can weigh on.
Oh, yes. Here is with the Gachagua 100% that the military should be kept out of internal affairs. I think what this man, the Kahariri, has done is to raise our suspicion that the government is basically looking for military to embolden itself. In other words, they're losing their relevance, and so the only thing is to look for extra power. And military is the one that can give that power to stay in office, which is a trap for this leader, this Kahariri, because he's done what he shouldn't have done. Kenyans actually should ask this man to tell us what is it that they know that we don't know. Why would we not say Ruto must go? He has to explain that to Kenyans, as well as we can understand what are some security concerns that that this man has externally coming in, as Gachagua stated. You know, what are the external forces and pressures that is coming from out there? And the question is, why, if clearly this man has studied military, science, military studies, has had extensive training, and he knows the history that spy chiefs always stay out of politics, out of such utterance. Why would he actually decide to go against that? Because this is something that he didn't know. He can't tell us he didn't know. He knew exactly. The message was not his to deliver. If there is something serious going on, his job is to sit together with his team, come up with strategies, and execute that strategy to stop the aggression coming from outside, which include Ruto must go. Because according to him, it's a security matter, so it must be coming from out of the country. So you want to see where Ruto must go is coming from, outside the borders of Kenya. Or else he has to withdraw and apologize to Kenyans for us to really accept him, because now we have a lot of suspicion about his office based on those utterances. Back to you, Bernard. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I get you, Lala. Thank you so much for that. And that begs the question: are these our security leaders aware of the constitutional provision for Kenyans? Because from the way they are speaking, they seem to be very green. and especially on the sovereignty of the people. Like when the army came out of the barracks during the Gen Z demos, what did they come out to do? They came out to defend the government or to defend the people. And if they are not defending the people, should the people wherever raise an alarm, or they just wait and see? Because it appears that there are forces that want to force a particular leadership on the country, and that leadership is for their mutual benefits at the expense of the livelihood of Kenyans. So how do we navigate all this in ensuring that Kenyans don't lose, Kenya does not lose, and going forward, we should be agreed upon that our operation as a people cannot be under control of the so-called security forces. Just as a reminder, remember in the past, the old constitution, we could not even gather without obtaining a permission from either the DC or the DO or the PC. And it appears that's what they want to return, that for us to go and have demonstrations, we need to obtain permission, and that permission will be given by the police. And
then that's dangerous. Some of who are older could remember when actually to imagine the death of a president would be treason. If you imagine the old Kenyatta or Moi, I don't know who was there in power, I think it was Kenyatta, just to think about it. So in other words, just thinking of something was criminal. I think that's where they're taking us to, based on what we see here with the military. Because what is the message behind this is to tell Kenyans that there is nothing you can do because the military is behind us, okay? It's behind the president, not behind the constitution, but the person of the president. And that's exactly what they're saying. So the constitution should go out to the window, okay? Because it is the president. In other words, if you want to interpret the law, don't look at that constitution, don't go to the law code, just listen to what you're hearing. So I think that's the danger that we are in right now with this kind of statement from these two people, and they have got no shame. They are there talking. So it seems as if they are following an instruction they have been given, or they believe in the idea that there was a mistake to have had a new constitution, okay, and that they are not going to be bound by it. And this is how Ruto will be running his government, because Ruto must have known, what was happening. So to me, I think this is bad. This is bad for the nation, really, really bad. And Kenya should not make it.
Thank you, Lala. Maybe a follow-up question. This application of security forces, is it meant to force Kenyans to accept a particular leadership that they have rejected? Because I don't see this to be just an end itself. It's a means to an end. What does the army stand to gain? What does the other stakeholders stand to gain when we follow them without questioning what they are saying and why they are saying what they are saying? The greatest losers here is the Kenyan people. Are we going to explain the budget of creating a new infrastructure, or we are going to make use of what is available and improve on it, make it more viable and work out? From the look of things, there is a spirited effort to try and silence Kenyans, to try and curtail Kenyans, to try and mess up Kenyans. Are we going to allow this, or are we going to reject it? And if we reject it, what follow-up program should we do? Because it appears to me that most of us are quick in speaking, but very slow when it comes to implementing what we have spoken. Our country is in trouble. if this is the kind of language we are hearing, and this is the kind of people that are posting whatever they are posting in terms of trying to enlighten us. Well, as we look at this, I would also want to invite your input. There was an earthquake today in Pakistan. Is it Pakistan or wherever? Where the Kenyans had been detained. Now the earthquake looked very, very intense. Some buildings sank, and some people lost their lives. What's happening? Is this the beginning of the end, or what's cooking in our world today?
Bernard, are you? I think earthquakes have been with us, and of course they have become more frequent. So if you look at them from a biblical perspective, I think they are more now, and maybe this is what is leading us to think about the end of the earth. But our condolences and our prayers go to the victims and those that are working there now to rescue the situation. Let's keep on praying for such places, and for those that have been killed, can't be traced, and those who are injured is always devastating. So let's keep on praying for them. Coming back on our shores, I think Ruto's, I think Bernard, what you stated, I think let me just say that when a government come into power with deceptions, they know they did not win, okay, and they are there in power. They have to figure out how to maintain, how to stay in power. And I think they were scared by the demonstrations and the truth that is now very clear. So they are looking for power to keep them them in power. Some forces that can be able to help them stay. And there is no other place but to go to the military, because without the military, they feel vulnerable. So they are able to manipulate these leaders of the military to speak words that are shocking to all of us, and actually are going to backfire on them. And this is all part of a pattern that we saw on the day of election to the present, okay, the present time. And so now what can keep them in power is firepower, is the military, because they can't win in other ways. So when a leader of the military says, you should not do this, what is he saying? He's saying, Ruto is here, whether you like it or you don't. Even when the Constitution says you can do something, the military person is saying, no, you can't do anything, because we can call this government, anytime. The power is with the people, not the military. The military is supposed to defend us, protect us, okay, from external enemies, not to stop us from doing what we think we should do. We can change the government today, tomorrow. The military is supposed to stand behind us and support us, okay, because that is their role, to protect the integrity of Kenya, to make sure that no one outside of us interfere with us. And then internally, we have the Constitution to guide us on how to change system, what to do, and what is protected and not protected. And so Kenyans must not let go, must not allow such men, these two men, to basically lie to us and tell us something which is not in the Constitution. We must claim our Constitution And that's what I see here. Back to you, Bernard.
At KTN News, KE at Dennis. And the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga Saturday jetted back from Entebbe, Uganda, where he met President Yoweri Museveni to discuss the escalating tension in South Sudan. Raila, while addressing the media upon his arrival, explained discussions he held with South Sudan President Salva Kiir about the arrest of Vice President Dr. Riek Machar. Tension is building up in the country following the arrest of Machar, and Raila has been tasked to spearhead mediation to avert another long-drawn war in Africa's newest nation. Marian Baraza reports.
President William Ruto early this week appointed Raila Odinga as special peace envoy to South Sudan, where he was tasked to spearhead mediation. The move followed growing hostilities in the country after the arrest of Vice President Riek Machar, who is currently being held under house arrest. Raila embarked on his mission and held talks with President Salva Kiir on Friday on the escalating tension. His efforts to meet Machar were thwarted for reasons given by President Salva Kiir.
I asked to be allowed to talk to Dr. Machar, but they were not able to allow me to see him. They recommended that I meet with President Museveni.
No formal charges have been preferred against Machar. According to Raila, Machar's supporters and affiliated militia could have been implicated on the murder charges. Raila Odinga added that he has received assurances from the government of South Sudan regarding the future access of Dr. Riek Machar upon the completion of the ongoing investigations into the recent violent events. He said he will be permitted to return to the capital, Juba, to have a meeting with Machar.
Who told me about challenges they're facing, that there was a killing of a general and about 10 other people in the town of Nasir in the Upper Nile, and this is what they are actually investigating. And because of this, he said that Vice President Dr. Riek Machar had been placed under house arrest.
After his talks with President Salva Kiir, Raila directly flew to Uganda to meet President Yoweri Museveni, where he briefed him about the situation in South Sudan. The peace envoy is now set to inform IGAD regional heads of state about his findings.
I'm going to make a report to President Ruto and Prime Minister Abiy and President Gele of my findings in South Sudan. The situation requires international attention.
As the clock ticks on South Sudan fragile peace, the world watches, waiting to see if dialogue will prevail or if the drums of war will drown out the voices of reason. Marian Barasa, KTN.
And tonight, the political class is
there you go. Our leadership as Africans seems to be wanting. I would want Jakindu to weigh on this story ya house arrest. Ilianza na Jomo Kenyatta na Jaramogi. Ni kipi kinaendelea South Africa? I mean the Southern Sudan. Ni history repeating itself or what is it?
Hizi vitu Bernard, ni kwa sababu hizi vitu zinafanyika kwa sababu wakati tunapatiwa utawala hatukai chini tukasikilizana tunataka kufanyaje. Hatukai chini, tunachukua tu hizo vyeo alafu mnaanza kugombana juu ya vitu. Manake ukiangalia labda hawa watu wanagombania tu mali, ndio inaleta hizi vurugu zote kwa sababu ya mali tu. Kwa sababu hata hapa Kenya ilikuwa ni sababu ya cheo, ndio maana watu kama kina Mboya, watu kama kina Kungo Karuma, watu kama kina JM, watu kama kina huko, ni hiyo tu ndio ilifanya wakawawa. ni kwa sababu ya ulafi. So inatakikana sisi kama wa Kenya, haifai, sisi kama wa Afrika, haifai mtu ukisha mchukua vice president wako unamweka chini ati amefungwa ati chini ya hiyo. Ni kusema amwezi mkakaa chini kama mandugu na kuelewana kwa nini hii kitu imefanyika hivi. Unaona? So hiyo sasa lazima inaleta tension, na hiyo haitaleta amani katika hiyo nchi, kwa sababu kuna wale wanamsupport vice president na kuna wale wanamsupport president. Ukisha mweka chini ya kifungo, hiyo ni kusema unamnyang'anya haki yake. Kama amefanya kosa, wacha ashitakiwe kikosa ile kosa amefanya, lakini unapomweka chini ya kwamba amefungiwa kwa nyumba, hiyo detention, ni kusema kwamba hakuna haki ama hakuna ukweli. Inatakikana mpate ukweli, ushahidi wa kutosha wa kuweza kumshtaki mtu. Hizi vitu hawa watu wanarudia yale makosa ambayo tumekuwa tukifanya. Waafrika wengi wanafanya, alafu hiyo inaleta vita bila kuangalia kwamba tunataka kufanya vitu namna gani. Ndio maana nasema hizi vitu ambazo tunafanya sisi wa Afrika ya kuiga inatuletea fujo, kwa sababu kama wangekuwa wamekaa South Sudan wakati walikuwa wanapata hiyo uhuru wao, wakae chini waseme, jamani, sasa sisi tumepata uhuru, tunataka kujiongoza namna gani, ni vitu gani hatufai kufanya, tusifanye hii na tusifanye hii na tusifanye hii na tusifanye hii, basi na wakubaliane namna hiyo, na iwe ni katiba, katika katiba. Lakini unaona hata katika katiba zetu sisi hatutii sheria, hatufuati hizo makatiba zetu. Hata hizi za tunasema tunafuata, tumeandika katiba hizi ambazo tumekopa, hatuzitii. Kama hakuna utiifu katika hizo masheria, hawezi kuwa na jambo la kufurahi. Unajua, wakati mimi nikiwa mdogo niliona TANU, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere wakati huo alikuwa ndio kiongozi president. Niliona TANU vile ilikuwa inaongoza, inasaidia. TANU haikuwa serikali, lakini ilikuwa ni mtetezi wa haki. Na mimi sikuweza kuona mtu yoyote amewekwa kizuizini. Ndio kulikuwa na sheria ya kwamba ungeweza kizuizini, lakini hakuna mtu aliwekwa kizuizini. Hakuna. Wale watu wote ambao kulikuwa na matatizo walishtakiwa, walipelekwa kotini. Hakuna mtu aliwekwa kizuizini. So unaona hiyo nchi, hiyo Tanzania, hata kama watu wanasema iko nyuma, ukiangalia kuna utulivu, kwa sababu ya kukaa chini na kujaribu kuunganisha watu pamoja na kuwauliza wanataka nini na kusikiliza maoni ya kila mtu. Ndio maana wameungana. Ndio maana unaona hakuna hiyo ukabila, haijanawiri. Lakini katika hizi nchi zingine hawakai chini wakafikiria namna gani. Kwa sababu mimi wakati nikiwa mdogo, Nyerere alikuwa akifanya mkutano wa kuelezea watu na kupatia watu nafasi ya kusema maoni zao na watu kusikiza sauti zao. So hii mzozo wa kuweza kuweka mtu kizuizini ilikuwa inapatikana tu Kenya na hizo nchi zingine, labda Uganda au uende Kongo, ama mtu amewekwa kizuizini, alafu unasikia mtu amepinduliwa, kuna vita. So mimi nasisitiza na namuomba Bwana Raila akirudi huko make sure kwamba hiyo mambo ya kizuizini huyo Salva Kiir awache, tafadhali. Asante sana Bernard.
Okay, thank you, Jakindube. Interesting indeed. What informs this aspect of reducing your deputy or your assistant or humiliating them? I mean, is born out of insecurity or is born out of ill advice? Lala, quickly, please, before we play.
Bernard, that's quite a challenging question. That is what informs such behavior that we see traditionally in Africa, where opposition leaders are jailed, humiliated, often they are tortured and sometimes killed. Okay, what really informs that? Let me say that I don't know exactly what informs that, but I do know that underneath all these things is ignorance. Ignorance on the part of those leaders and ignorance on the part of us as followers. Let me give an example. Congo is very rich, okay? The richest on earth. God has blessed Congo. There are minerals underneath Congo. But you see, Congolese are fighting, Africans are fighting for these minerals, okay? But power keeps shifting from one place to the other, back and forth, back and forth. But the people who truly enjoy those minerals are not Congolese. You can change them as many times as possible. They are people in the West, big business, large corporation. They are the ones that makes life good for even some of us here in the Western world. Yet we are Africans, the one dying because of pure ignorance. The biggest mine that Africa should invest in is the mind. It's the mind. I'm told Qatar is just a small little place, but richer than Nigeria. Okay, because a country need peace, laws, and order so that they can mine the gold in the mine. Imaginations, ideas, training, skills. That's where it is. That's how we can benefit even from our African resources. So when we see our brothers and sisters fighting for nothing, at the end of the day, you know they're going to gain nothing. Only they will have is death in Sudan. And they are two men who should be smart enough to know it, especially Kiir. Maybe he's too old. I don't know. And it is so sad because this is the way invented by foreigners outside of Africa to mine, get things for free in Africa. Because when there's war, these guys will come in and just loot. The same thing that was done during the colonial time. Our artifacts, our treasuries, whatever things that were important to us in Africa are in museums in Europe, in America, and other places, because no one is there to protect them. And so all this fight, all this military stuff, are not to fight our wars. Mr. Kiir and Mr. Machar and all of you in Sudan, listen to the voice of children. They just want to develop their mind and help Africa. There is a population that is yearning for education. They desire that there's peace in the land so that they can give Sudan and Africa what it deserves. We are a laughing stock. And you guys are holding guns that were made not in Africa. Those bombs, they are not in Africa. Those uniforms you're putting on, they are not from Africa. They are there to cause you into wars that you can give them what they're looking for. So I pray that you guys can talk and put those guns down and save those brothers and sisters. We have borne the brunt of war for a long time, and the country is still bleeding from it. Why get into another one? Why arrest Machar? Are there no laws that can be followed there than detaining that in the name of trying to find out what happened, if he was involved. No, they had laid down laws. People have cases. All of us maybe have cases. I have my own cases, okay? But there are better ways to work through them. There are lawyers to sort them out and create a system that can support your people, Mr. Kiir. Okay. Back to you, Bernard.
Thank you, Reverend Lala, for that passionate appeal. And I'm still just not convinced that we are applying the right approach to leadership. Because leadership does not mean having yes people around you or people who always agree with you. And as a leader, you must have those capabilities of lobbying and negotiating your way into making informed decisions for the interests of the country. Southern Sudan is the youngest nation, and it needs not to go back to civil war or revert into civil fight simply because the two leaders cannot agree. I mean, leadership is facilitating that aspect of getting people to talk so that they agree on the way forward. But now, if it's intimidation, it's belittling and frustrating the person, you're only causing aggravation to the rest of the country, especially if that rest of the country supports that particular leader that you are trying to humiliate. So is it that African leaders have a deficit of leadership understanding, or it is just that aspect of wanting to feel that you are in control because you can command this one to go and he goes, you command this one to come and he comes? When will we be weaned from all this and just be leaders who take responsibility and want to act and function in the interest of the country, other than satisfying my ego by reason of belittling the people around me and frustrating my assistant simply because I want to appear powerful, I want to appear in control, I want to appear that emperor, and the man with absolute power. Is it for satisfying conscience, or it is for solving our nation problems? So these two leaders in Southern Sudan, what are they up to? Are they for the country or for themselves? Are they for the future of the country, or they want to eat what is left of them? I think if we address that, we'll be able to find a lasting solution to all this, because I hate it when African leaders don't rise to the occasion to fix the African problem, but keep begging and looking out for somebody from elsewhere to come and fix our homegrown problems. If there is a disagreement between the president and the deputy, I think there are two key leaders that can meet and discuss what is the problem. Because we can't be a continent where we can't get anything done, and we are always depending on some other forces to come and fix our messes. So if this that is going on in Southern Sudan is anything to go by, then we have a long way to go as far as leadership is concerned, understanding of the same and execution of the same. It is a sad reality. And we are talking about Southern Sudan. Even here, at the moment in Kenya, the problem we have is not that we don't have capable hands and capable brains to provide leadership, but there is that aspect of intimidating, belittling, and then assuming that you are Mr. Know-it-all, and so that you don't seek anybody's counsel. What you have decided, and now look at the mess that what you have decided has brought us into, where now the military is doing civilian work, and the police that are supposed to do civilian work, you have sent them to Haiti so that the army can now do local defense while our brothers and sisters are dying in Haiti. There is something wrong with this entire arrangement of this particular administration. And so as we look for a way to make sure that every eligible Kenyan is ready for the elections in 2027, we must guard against this external influence that would want to, frustrate the livelihood of Kenyans. See what has happened to education. We have defined education according to our problems. We want students to go to class based on how poor their father is, how poor their mother is, how they cannot access money. That categorization of people in a cluster of the poorest, then the less poorer, and then the rich and the upper class, to me is another fallacy that we must rise against. We can't build a country based on the poverty we have. We should build a country based on the resources. Somebody sent me an article talking about Burkina Faso, and Traore has managed to pay the entirety of the debt that the country was owing, so that Burkina Faso is now free from every so-called borrowers that would want to come and frustrate his project. So we need leadership like that you give a holistic solution to the problems around, not this short-sighted aspect of fixing a problem just to cover it up, and then it emerges when it's bigger and greater. Nimlete Jakindu Beinai aongezee tunapoanza kufungasha. Ni saa 7 asubuhi na saa mashariki.
Bernard, vile umesema, unajua Bernard, sisi tuko na mapungufu mengi sana. Kwanza mtu unaona kama sasa tunasema wakati wa uchaguzi ikifika kila mtu ana haki ya kusimama. Unasikia? Tunasema hivyo, which is completely wrong. Kwa sababu ukiangalia hizi nchi za Western ambao wanasema wana demokrasia, wako na vyama nyingi, wao wenyewe kila chama kinachuja kiongozi ambaye wanataka kumsimamisha. Wanamchuja, wanamwangalia, wanaangalia ni mtu wa namna gani, ni mtu mfisadi, ni mtu hawamchagui, wanamchuja. Sisi Kenya hatuchuji kama yeye ni kiongozi wetu, basi kama ameanzisha party basi ana pesa anasimama. Hiyo ndio maana tunachagua viongozi wabaya, kwa sababu hatuna njia ya kuchuja. China ambayo iko na hiyo party wanachuja mtu, unaangaliwa tangu utotoni. Hata Amerika unaangaliwa tangu utotoni, ulifanya nini, ulikuwa mlevi ama sio hivyo lala, unaangaliwa wakati ukiwa 16 ulifanya vitu gani, unaangaliwa, unachunguzwa, uonekane kama wewe ni mtu ambaye anafaa kuwa kiongozi. Hawachagui tu kama sisi, tunachagua tu, hatuangalii nani ya mtu. Hata kama tunaambiwa mtu ana makosa, tunamchagua, tunasema huyo ni mtu wetu. Hiyo ndio nidhamu tunakosa. Unaona? Sasa ndio maana unaona kama Sudan sahihi, ndio maana nasema sisi kama wa Afrika tusikubali kubugia vitu tu, kwa sababu sisi, mimi nasema yale makosa ambayo yanatupata ni kwa sababu ya kudharau mila zetu na desturi zetu. Tunachukua desturi za watu wengine, ndio tunasema hizi ni mambo ya kisasa, na hawa watu hawajaacha desturi zao, hawajaacha, wanafuata mila zao, hizo desturi zao hawaachi. Lakini sisi tunarukia desturi yoyote ambayo hujui, kwa sababu kwa mfano sasa kama Kongo, ninyi mnagombana, ninyi wenyewe mnagombania nini na nchi yenu inaporwa? Sasa kama Kenya, angalia, tunagombania nini na nchi yetu tunataka tuijenge. Tunachagua kiongozi ambaye anachukua watu wetu anawapeleka nchi zingine kwenda kutoa kodi huko, na hapa anataka kodi. President kabisa anatuambia anaenda kututafutia kazi Amerika, au tunaenda kufanya kazi uko Saudi Arabia au wapi. Kwa nini? Mimi kwa maisha yangu sijaona kitu kama hiyo. Sijaona president ambaye ni normal anawaambia wananchi yake kwamba enda mfanye kazi Ujerumani. Kodi hizo mnatoa Ujerumani, hiyo itajengaje nchi yetu? Badala ya kutengeneza nchi yetu, ina uwezo wa kuwa na viwanda vingi tu, kazi nyingi, lakini wao ni wavivu. Bernard, nchi ya Uingereza, nchi ya Amerika, nchi ya Hispania, nchi nyingi sana, mseme hizi nchi kama Uingereza, Ujerumani, Japan, hizi nchi China, kuna vitu viwili hawafanyi, hawachii, hazinunuliwi. Elimu ni msingi wa nchi yenu. Hamwezi kusema eti elimu mtu anaenda kununua, eti mtu ananunulia mtoto wake. Hiyo ni kazi ya serikali, kuelimisha watu wake, kwa sababu bila kuwa na watu ambao wenye elimu, hiyo nchi yenu inaenda nowhere. Kwa hiyo ni jukumu la serikali ku make sure kwamba elimu kila mmoja anapewa, si eti ununue. Alafu hali ya afya ni kitu ya muhimu, kila mtu lazima apewe. Hiyo ni jambo, hata sijui kwa nini sisi sijui tumetoka, sijui tunaelewa vitu namna gani. Hata usomi kwetu sielewi. Tunawezaje kusema kwamba elimu tunanunua, na hiyo elimu ndio chanzo ya maendeleo yetu? Hiyo ni kitu ambayo sisi wote wa Kenya tunachangia kuelimisha watu wetu. Watu wote tunatakiwa tuchangie hiyo, ku make sure watoto wetu wanaenda shule bila kulipa chochote na wanapewa same, yani nafasi sawa. Sasa kama ukisema kwamba sasa watoto watajiri tu ndio wanaenda shule, watoto maskini hawaendi shule, hiyo ni nchi gani? Utajenga nchi namna gani namna hiyo? So hizi ni vitu ambazo tunafanya, vitu ambazo ni kama hatufikiri, na hiyo inaonyesha uvivu wetu. Tunapenda tu vitu rahisi. Ni lazima tufikirie vitu kama hizo sana. Ndio maana mimi nasema kila siku ni vizuri tujifanyie mambo yetu wenyewe bila kukopi, na tuangalie ni gani ambayo inatufaa. Kwa sababu kama elimu, mimi nasema elimu inatakiwa iwe bure, free. Tuchange, kila mtu, mwananchi yoyote wa Kenya tunachanga, kwa sababu tukitoa kodi, hata kama kodi ikiongezwa, tukiambiwa kodi inaongezwa lakini watoto wanaenda shule bure, hawalipi chochote. Kodi inaongezwa lakini hospitali utapata matibabu bure. Kwa sababu sasa mimi saa nyingine nashindwa. Hii tunaambiwa kwamba tunatakiwa kila mmoja awe na insurance, lakini ukienda hospitali bado unalipa. Sasa maana ya hiyo insurance bado sijaelewa maana yake ni nini. Kwa sababu insurance, ukiwa nayo unalipa insurance, inatakiwa ukienda hospitali unatibiwa bure. Hakuna kitu unalipa tu insurance, ndio unalipa kila mwezi. Lakini ukienda hospitali unatakiwa upate matibabu yote. Lakini hii ya Kenya ambayo unalipa insurance, lakini ukienda hospitali bado unalipa pesa, hii ni insurance gani ya namna gani? Sijaelewa hiyo kitu. Asante sana Bernard.
One moment. Thank you very much, Jakindube. And that's something that we must return to, ensuring that we pursue peace and we pursue the future of the country, not being opportunistic, that now I've accidentally become president and now I should fortify myself, ensure that I remain president for life. All those things that we are trying to attempt are the genesis of our failing to have capacity to lead. Because as long as you see yourself inferior and you see the other person as maybe outshining you, you become wild, and in the process you make a lot of blunders. Well, Lala, let's hear this and then you come in.
Go. Okay. First, what is your take on that conversation?
First and foremost, I'll speak, I think those are Article 144 agencies, if I'm not so wrong, the three of them. The only ones that I've not seen here, the National Police.
NPS and
yeah, CI. But let's get this clear from the very start. That anyone who rises to the position of a CDF is assumed to be a soldier and a gentleman. And what I have watched the statement made by General Kahariri, for example, and I must say that first and foremost, it flies in the face of Article 121. And I want to read Article 121 of the KDF Act. Article 121 of the KDF Act says this, that any person subject to this act who commits any act, conduct, or neglect to the prejudice of good order and service discipline commits an offense and shall be liable on conviction by a court-martial to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years or any lesser punishment provided by this act. There's a reason why KDF is supposed to be apolitical. He cannot in one, and this we must condemn the CDF for actually making an attempt to meddle into the affairs of the citizens. There's a reason why CDF should be apolitical. He cannot in one line say that KDF is apolitical, and then he goes further, number one, to lecture the citizens and tell them that you cannot say must go and you are the one who elected them the other day. That is none of his business. Totally none of his business. This is not Uganda where we have got a CDF lecturing the citizens. We are a democracy and the people are the sovereign. Kahariri, if he wants to do politics, he must remove the military cloth and come from a political party like the rest of us, or go to the streets. But he cannot.
Fairness, Maliba,
Trevor, this is a serious issue.
Without attacking the person, let's read that entire statement. That is.
I have watched the entire
when some
video.
People say that they're tired with this government, a government they elected on their own, and then they say they must go, it can only be done according to the Constitution.
No,
I
watched the whole thing live.
Here.
You are
literally here.
That is half. What I'm telling you is that I watched the entirety of the video. He first of all goes with the line that KDF is apolitical. Then as he proceeds, he goes ahead and says that when you start talking about must go, there's a part that is actually omitted in that excerpt where he says you elected them and now you're starting to say must go. How we choose, what the people choose to do with their vote is none of his business. And he should not lecture the people that since you elected them, you cannot say must go. I am talking about
for 5 years.
Actually, the constitution that he speaks about clearly gives we, the people, the right to recall our leaders. And by the way, saying Ruto must go is constitutional.
It is.
Just like, by the way, after he has actually come and invited himself into our affairs, I can boldly tell you that Kahariri must go for breaking Article 121 of the KDF Act.
Okay.
Now, quickly, I will tell Nordi Haji, during this holy Ramadan month, that he leads Kenya's most sacred agency. There's a reason why we have given him that agency that no one else should actually be looking into. There's a reason why he has got power beyond any other. His agency has got power beyond any other. The chief who leads a sacred agency, that is the holy grail of our national security. He should stop PR. He should stop being out. He does not lead a Gestapo. He does not lead some secret police that is supposed to be going out and doing propaganda. A good intelligence agency, and the one that we actually envisioned in the Constitution, is one that is felt, not seen or heard. That is as much as I will say about him. He leads our most sacred agency, the first liners. And if the two of them were out on a PSYOP, if that was actually some PSYOP to actually prepare us going ahead, then this one is a failed PSYOP. They should actually go back. Because, Trevor, why do I say that? We are going to elections. Clearly, if you look at their statements, and even this headline, it says one thing, that in the war between politicians and the people, NIS and KDF, I'm talking about this story, have decided to side with the oppressors. They did not, for example, talk about abductions, which both their agencies have actually been pointed for their members playing a role. They didn't say that. So we as a people, what do we say? That Kahariri comes out for the first time breaking tradition to speak out. He didn't say anything about the people. He spoke down on the people. He did not talk about abductions, which
out there people are saying that members of his service have actually been part and parcel of. They didn't say about that, but then they are telling us they want to chaperone us. They want to groom us. We cannot allow this, because if we allow this at mid-term, what will this do? What will they do to us? Okay. In the election time, we cannot allow them to actually do this. They must be condemned. Yeah. They must go back to where they belong. And if Kahariri does not want to be the CDF, he should come out here and do politics. Otherwise, he cannot be a Mhozi here.
Here you go, Reverend Lala.
Bernard, I agree with that gentleman totally. I think he has articulated well, and Kenyans must understand their constitution well. Kenyans must be brave enough to protect it or defend it, because that is a symbol of our unity, what puts us together. You can see all these differences, but we agreed on one thing called the constitution, that we shall abide by the dictates of that sacred, I call it sacred, document that puts us all together as a nation. So to have a military person who goes against the constitution that is swore the allegiance to support. You see, Kenya, I think like the US, our allegiance is not to the presidency, but to the constitution. Defend that constitution. What is done now is to put his allegiance on this man called Ruto, because when you say he must not go, then it's more important than the constitution. You've made the biggest error of your career. You've actually lost it. So I wouldn't mind people are saying Kahariri must go, because you don't want to have a leader in the military who doesn't really understand his role. The other thing that is critical here, that if you say Ruto must go, you are telling us to say Ruto must stay. Must stay, anyone must stay, even if they are thieves, if they are stolen election, doing all these things, they must stay. That's what you're saying. So any leader, especially on that critical chair, the CDF, the KDF, chief, must be careful, because what you say, Ruto must go, you can also support Ruto must stay. Okay? How about if the court says he has committed a crime, somebody's done, is he going to stay? So your job, Mr. Hariri, or General Kahariri, is to stay out of politics. That is not your space. That's not your place. That's not what you're supposed to do. And based on what you stated, I think you've lost your legitimacy as the chief, just on that one word, because you touch the very live wire, the very cracks of the whole matter. That is whom we pay our allegiance to. It is to the Constitution of Kenya, not to a person. Because if we start going to a person, that's what has killed Africa. That's what's wrong. That's why we are in this mess in Africa, because it has always been about the person, not about the document that put us all together called the Constitution. And so totally concur with the gentleman there. And it seems to me that there are many Kenyans who don't really see the implication of what has been stated. I think he cited Muhoozi in Uganda as another person who has got no problem talking about politics. And that tells you a lot about a nation who is moving in that direction. So I think Kenyans must tell this guy to go. I think he should go too with Ruto. Thank you. Back to you, Bernard.
Okay, just a moment. Thank you very much, Reverend Lala. And I think he must go. He's just joined that list. He has campaigned and gotten it. Let's just get this analysis and then we wrap up. The things are not moving as I wish them to. I'm trying to get Alexion as Patikani, but let's just hear what Komekuncha said on this, and then Jakindube can weigh on this.
The best way of summarizing the very dramatic, extremely dramatic developments in our country over the last few hours is as follows, and it's a very brief sentence. This is how panic looks like. Exactly. This is how panic looks like. Because even if we're to stick to the very basics, you know nothing about security. You know nothing about security protocols. You know zilch. Since when did the military chief address the public on a political issue in a country that is democratic? It is not under military rule. Since when? Please give me one example, not two. You see the situation in Kenya today, there is really only one word to use to describe it. Bila emotions, bila my feelings, just sticking to the facts. There's only one word you can use. Confusion. Confusion. Total confusion. Because sample the following. We have a problem in Haiti. And Kenya has sent, wait for this one, the police to deal with the Haiti problem. And then they have left the military in Kenya to deal with the local civilian problem. That is how a foreigner would look at it. And it's factual. Because we have the chief of the defense forces, General Charles Kahariri, talking about the Ruto must go chance and warning Kenyans that whatever they do, it must be constitutional. Okay? And then at the same time, we have our policemen who are families. These are fathers. These are brothers to people. These are the sons of Kenyans dying in Haiti in an external operation. So, in other words, the two have switched roles. The military are now local, the police are now foreign and external. Isn't that how it looks? Amma, explain to me. Maybe I don't understand. Simplify it for me. Explain to me. Hey, folks, this is not good. We have never sunk this low. Never. And to make matters worse, one would have thought, before, our military chiefs were people who had not gone to school. Okay? The Akina General Mulinge, may his soul continue resting in peace. Those were people who didn't go to school. And so one would have assumed that since these former generals, hawakusoma, they may not have been able to interpret the constitution properly. They may not have been able to keep military protocol. Yeah? Doesn't that make sense? But what do we have here? These days we have in the military people with PhDs, master's degrees. But then it seems now they cannot interpret our very clear, simple constitution that was deliberately written in simple language. It's not written in legal language, which everybody can understand. One would have thought that now, more than ever before, we should have people who can interpret our constitution properly and act properly. And when they stand to speak, to always remember who they are, what position they hold, and what they should say and what they should not say. One would have thought that. But then the truth is, looking back at the era of the General Mulinges, Those guys were very professional. General Mulinge never even one day talked politics when he was in the military. Never ever. Even at the fight for multi-party democracy, General Mulinge never came out even one day to warn the opposition to be careful that whatever they did in trying to remove Moi, because there was a time everybody in the country was saying Moi must go. Moi must go. These days we're saying Ruto must go. Not even one day did General Mulinge come out and tell the opposition that they must be careful in the way they're saying Moi must go. They must be careful to follow the Constitution, not to try to remove Moi unconstitutionally. That never happened. So I don't believe my ears and I don't believe my eyes that it is happening now. When the people in our military are educated, when we are supposed to be much more advanced than at that time. In my opinion, what has happened over the last few hours is the most shameful, the lowest our respected military has ever gone. Folks, I'm afraid that is nothing but the truth. But now let us break it down. Yeah, let us try and dig a little deeper to find out what is really going on here. Because yes, this is not good. Yes, this is very disheartening. And this is very disturbing to any peace-loving, patriotic Kenyan. Okay? But let us dig deeper and try and find out what the crux of the matter is here. What the problem may be. Okay? Now all this was unfolding at something which was also unprecedented in our country. And that is the intelligence community coming out for the first time and holding an open talk, trying to interact with the public. Yeah, that was a very good thing. Yeah, no doubt about that. And it is totally unprecedented in our country. And of course, the intelligence community had some very interesting things to say. Yeah, very educative about how intelligence the world over has changed so dramatically. Yeah, with technology especially. Okay, things have really changed, and how they must now adopt to the new environment and adopt very quickly, because things have changed very quickly, actually much more quickly than anybody was prepared for them to change, and therefore they have to play a game of catch up. That was all very nice. However, there was a problem. This is happening when our spy chief, yeah, the head of our intelligence, recently has been named by a cabinet secretary who has now been fired, Justin Muturi. Remember what Justin Muturi told us? Justin Muturi mentioned the name of the intelligence boss in connection to the abductions, and more specifically, the abduction of his son. You see, he had to make calls. He had to go to State House. And these are the people he interacted with. And he definitely mentioned his name. Now, this same Justin Muturi had been fired just a few hours earlier. You know, timing is everything when you're dealing with the public. Upende usipende, timing is everything. Now, this man had just been fired. And of course, Kenyans were remembering what he had told us. And then, the spy chief trying to tell us 1, 2, 3. What? How does it look? You tell me. How does it look? Will anybody take him seriously? Because at the back of the minds of Kenyans are asking themselves, na hii mambo ya abductions ilikuwaje? Imefika wapi? Why was it happening? Why was the intelligence service, the people supposed to protect us, protect the lives of Kenyans, involved in these abductions, where we know for a fact that many young people lost their lives. Why? So that was one big issue. Actually, many issues, not just one issue. There are many, many issues there. Kenyans are asking themselves many, many questions. Okay? But let us cut to the chase. Let us hit the nail on the head. Okay? Let us not dilly-dally, play around in the periphery. Let us just go to the crux of the matter here. Folks, it appears is that what has very clearly happened here is that the executive has dragged in the security into day-to-day politics. And it would seem that the executive has done this while they're in a state of panic. Let me take you back to what happened a few days ago. President Ruto went to Naivasha, Safari Rally Manenos. Now the crowd at Naivasha, not very many Kenyans can afford, especially now, to leave what they're doing and to travel all the way to Naivasha by whatever means, but many of them went with their private vehicles, to watch the Safari Rally, a sporting event, the Safari Rally. In fact, a sport that is followed by people with money. There is absolutely no doubt that rally fans are middle class and high income, wakubwa, people with money. So Ruto goes there and people start shouting, Kenyans start shouting, Ruto must go. Okay? And so President Ruto decides, let me go and watch Kenya playing Gabon, at the stadium. At least there, I know Kenyans are minding their own business. I'm sure they're very excited about the match. They will not be so concerned about me. At least the last thing I expect to happen is for people to jeer me. So the president rushes to the stadium. Then what happens? The Ruto must go chants are even louder. As soon as he's seen entering the stadium, Kenyans immediately burst out, Ruto must go. Now, let's step back for a minute and analyze this. What is it telling us in very clear language? What is the writing very clearly on the wall? The high-income Kenyans, the upper middle-class Kenyans, and the low-class Kenyans, because we had Kenyans who tried to get into the stadium, many were successful, without paying. These are low-income people. These are people from Kibra, Madare slums, etc., etc. People also in the low class are also shouting the same thing. Ruto must go. Bottom line, right across the board, Kenyans are singing only one song. Kenyans are chanting only one slogan, not two, one. And it is Ruto must go. What does that tell you? It tells you very clearly that Ruto, President Ruto, has lost the mandate of leading the country called Kenya. Because you can never lead people against their will. It can't work. And the last time I checked, this is not a government by force. It's not a military government. And therefore, the only way you can rule people is by the mandate of the people. And therefore, if you look at it this way, it is easy to see how there was panic and very superficial. Just before this open day of the NIS, we had some very interesting information in the press from the NIS. They're concerned over the increased chance of Ruto must go. I'm sure many of us remember that. And now everything falls into place very neatly. Okay? The executive panics, and the executive orders the security people to come out and clearly scare the Kenyan public. Scare them, and hopefully, if they succeed in scaring them enough, this chance of Ruto must go will at least reduce. Especially when the CDF comes out and says himself that actually this chance of Ruto must go, we must be careful to operate within the Constitution. What he was actually saying, Bila Kizungu Mingi, is that the chance of Ruto must go have now reached a place where they are unconstitutional, against our Constitution. Now, is that factual? Of course it isn't. It isn't. In our Constitution, the same Constitution is talking about, there is something called free speech. In fact, there's a Kenyan who made us laugh, but at the same time made sure that we will never forget that our Constitution starts with the words that the sovereign, that is the public, are supreme. Yeah? They can exercise their power either through elected leaders, including people like Ruto, okay? Or they may, you remember people laughed when he said may, they may exercise the same power directly. And therefore the chance of Ruto must go are the people of Kenya exercising, it is the sovereign, exercising their constitutional right embedded in the Constitution of exercising their power directly. And they're doing that by saying they don't want Ruto. Ruto must go. End of story. Isn't it that simple? Oh boy. Oh boy. I am sure patriots like the late General Jackson Kimeu Mulinge are turning in their graves. If they're able to hear, unfortunately they're not able to, but if they're able to hear what is going on with the military they left behind, that actually something has happened in Kenya today where the military are dealing directly with the public. As of June 25th, 2024, which was a Wednesday, yeah, when the military came out for the first time for the barracks, it is still not clear why, okay, to deal directly with the civilians, the employers, the people of Kenya. Since that day, this is what is happening. And meanwhile, the police, they have switched roles with the military, and they're now in Haiti operating, okay, helping the country called Haiti. Oh boy, God Almighty, help the nation called Kenya. Because these things are very clear. It is black and white. There is no gray area. The protocol is very clear, has always been very clear. The military is supposed to defend the country from external threats. It's very clear. And the police are supposed to enforce the law, the Constitution internally. What is so difficult about understanding that? Huh? Tell me. I'm afraid this is a total mess. Hey, a terrible mess. Indeed, it is good that legislator Busia Senator Okiya Mtata, has released a detailed statement which has very clearly outlined what our constitution says and how our constitution has recently been breached, ignored, misused, misquoted for political expediency. Now, if you've not yet taken in my very latest special report titled The Next President of Kenya, and indeed if you've already taken it in, if you go back to that special report and then you look at it alongside this very latest unfortunate development, you will begin to understand the nitty-gritty of how Kenya is operating these days and where we are and how the situation is very crazy for motherland. Now you can see details on your screens right now. For only Kenya shillings 1,999 or $16, you can get this very valuable special report. And not only this special report, other very relevant special reports to this latest development, including the assassination of the immediate former chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, General Ogola. It is super fascinating, in fact more than fascinating, that particular special report, highly controversial, highly sensitive, that I put together so many months ago, has stood the test of time. And therefore this is a very valuable package that you must have. Okay, so please act quickly as we're in the final hours of making available this highly sensitive information. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.
I'm deeply honored to have worn the cloth of this nation for 43.5 years, and I'm humbled to have served as the 20th chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. But today is not about anyone up here on this stage. It's not about the President, the Secretary of Defense, me, CQ. It's not about us. It's about something much larger than all of us. It's about our democracy. It's about our republic. We are unique among the world's armies. We are unique among the world's militaries. We don't take an oath to a country. We don't take an oath to a tribe. We don't take an oath to a religion. We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator. We don't take an oath to an individual. We take an oath to the Constitution, and we take an oath to the idea that is America, and we're willing to die to protect it. Those values and ideas are contained within the Constitution of the United States of America, which is the moral North Star for all of us who have the privilege of wearing the cloth of our nation. It is that document that all of us in uniform swear to protect and defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Those who sacrificed themselves on the altar of freedom in the last 2.5 centuries of this country must not have done so in vain. The millions wounded in our nation's wars did not sacrifice their limbs and shed their blood to see this great experiment in democracy perish from this earth. No, we the American people, we the American military, must never turn our back on those that came before us. And we will never turn our back on the Constitution. That is our North Star, that is who we are, and that is why we fight. Thank you, and may God bless our military, and may God bless the United States of America.
Bernard, I think Big J is there, but I want to say something about the military. There are two generals that I happen to be aware of them. I was never close to any of them. But one of them is in the late, called General Ogola. General Ogola actually is younger than me, but he went to the same primary school that I attended. So we are all Lala. If he was here, we call Lala. He's a Lala, I'm a Lala. We all took part in development of Lala, which is a primary school and secondary school. That he was very generous to support before he died. He helped bring water, and after he died, I think I took the mentorship there, and we were able to do some things there. He was commissioned in 1984. That's when General Ogola joined, commissioned. But then there's another general called QC Brown. QC Brown was in charge of the Northern Command at a certain time when I happened to have been in Japan, Okinawa, in a military base there. He was in charge of that region. CQ Brown also was commissioned in 1984. All of these two are parallel. The one in Kenya and the Air Force, the other one the U.S. Air Force. Okay, the two gentlemen became the leader of their military, in their in the respective countries. QC Brown was appointed the KDF of U.S. Okay, until recently, Trump fired him, didn't like him, and fired him. Ogola, of course, became the head in Kenya, and before actually both of them were still generals. I was so excited, very, very excited, and I even called QC Brown to tell him about this Kenyan man who's like him called Ogola. I don't know Ogola very well, but my dream was to be able to put these two people together and talk as generals, okay? And unfortunately, or by God's own design, Ogola is no more, and QC Brown is no longer the chief there. But these two men understood what it is to be a chief of a military, that their fight was not to be fought within the nation, but to defend the integrity of the nation, and their commitment, their allegiance was to their constitution, not to a person, because people come and go, but nations are there to stay, to be there for all of us. It is a place where our children should grow and study the history of Ogola, and study the history of QC Brown as men who stood to protect the integrity of a nation. And that's why they cannot be political. They must be apolitical, because they're looking at the bigger picture. Where are we going to be as a nation beyond 5 years? And that's why they cannot be allowed to get involved in national squabbles within, and to protect and defend a man. And you watch General Miley standing against Trump, and he says our allegiance is to protect the Constitution, not a man. We don't play allegiance to a man, but to the Constitution of the United States. That's the United States. And I think Kenya, is the same. Okay. So it is unfortunate, that these two men, the spy chief as well as the military chief, came together to literally declare Kenya as a dictator, headed by a dictator, not the Constitution. That's exactly what they say indirectly. So I think they must be called out. I think Kenyans must not allow them to get away with this, but to let it very, very clear that they understand the law, they know what the Constitution says, and these people must, if they're not mistaken, they must tell Kenyans what it is that went on behind that decision to get out there and tell us that Ruto must go is basically external threat to Kenya. External, because when Kahariri talk about it is about external. And then this guy, the spy chief, whatever his name is, his work is silent. They work behind the scene. They look at the sources of information, insecurity, the sources of danger, and all that. And every day, every night, they process that information so that they can give the president or other people a clear information what that threat means. And then politicians or the security chief, like the secretary of defense or interior, whatever docket that that information go to, and most of it can go to the president directly. The president want to decide using that information to tell the nation what is the threat, okay? And he may allow other people to address the nation based on that threat, from the military, from the chiefs. They got to tell us why they're telling us that. If they choose to let us know, they have to give us a little bit more information that we're able to understand. Or else a lot of intelligence, we never hear about them. They are kept in there for all kinds of reasons. I agree with that man, whatever his name is, the head of our intelligence, okay? That there are a lot of information that are kept, we don't understand, we don't know, because we are never told. But when you come out to tell us that Ruto must go, it's a national issue, it's a threat, then you bring out the military chief. You must tell us why that word is a code word for external aggression or someone outside the country trying to come in. You got to tell us, or else the military is meddling in politics, and who benefits from that? The beneficiary is purely the one they are defending, called Ruto. So in other words, military has been roped into internal affairs, and they no longer can enjoy that stature that they always enjoy. And so this man must be called out to help us to unravel why he should go out there and say what he said. I know Kenyans probably will just forget about this, but I'm telling you, this is serious, very, very serious. Back to you, Bernard.
Okay, thank you, Lala. We appreciate that. Interesting times indeed. We are really time bad. Anataka Big J atoe maoni yake, alafu tung'atuke. Big J, hali vipi?
Poa sana Bernard, habari gani? Habari ya Lala. Bernard, unajua Kenya hii tuna yani tulikuwa futi 10 chini, tumerudi tena chini zaidi, tumeingia futi 20 chini. Imagine in Kenyan history hatujai kuwa na military chief kama huyu anaitwa Kalahari Desert. Yani akili ni desert, there is nothing on the brains. Hata sijui mtu alitrainia wapi. It's something that hata inafanya watu wanashindwa. I mean, he's a cheerleader. Yes, he doesn't look like unajua jeshi ni mtu ukiangalia for example wale waliomtangulia, you see somebody, you see like a military man. He looks like a military man. Lakini ukiangalia Kalahari sababu hata hakuna haja ya kuitwa Kahariri, kuitwa Kalahari Desert kwa sababu brains hakuna kitu. It's a desert, just dust. It's so painful, Bernard. It's so painful. yani jeshi ya Kenya vile ilikuwa imeheshimika, sasa imerudishwa chini to that level ya kuwa cheerleaders. Surely jeshi ya Kenya ilikuwa imeheshimika sana Bernard. So I don't know how, but kitu ya ukweli nani Lala ameongea hapa, amesema ni kwamba wamekuja kutangaza kwamba nao tuko kwa inaitwa tuko kwa, amekuwa sasa Museveni, kwa sababu that is a Museveni style, is trying ile hiyo kitu. Unajua ile kitu imesumbuaga nani ni new constitution. Kama angepata presidency before hii new constitution, sijui angetufikisha wapi. It's sad. It's sad, and for me, I'm just waiting to see what Baba would say about this, because this now, I think we should all say no to that. Niliona hata Sakaja naye, najua kwa sababu ya nini yake, governorship yake inakuwa threatened, anaona ni kama inaenda. Ndiona kwa mazishi ya Lachi anasema tio vijana, unajua akisema waki complain if there is something wrong, that's we have to look at ourselves as leaders and see where did we go wrong. But that is too late. That is too late. That is too late, because now wakati jeshi wamekuja kutuambia ati now inji ni dictator. Bernard, it's so painful. And where we are heading, I don't know. But again, it shows that the government has panicked. The president knows that there is no way out that is going to convince people, because atasema ametoa wapi hizo kura. That is the biggest problem now. That is the biggest problem they have, because anaona hata kama ni 2027 hiyo, sijui hizo kura atatizoa. Hapia hata akipatia Wasomalia milioni 3 kura na ID cards, bado I mean Wasomalia si Wasomalia wa Kenya, Wasomalia milioni 3. Hizo kura hata akiwapea hakuna mali haziwezi msaidia. The pot is boiling well, but we have to, as Kenyans, we have to stand together. I think that the only thing now we need is togetherness. Let us not divide ourselves. Let us just shun hiyo politics. Unajua hizo politics kama za Gachagua, anaenda Ngong, anaenda sijui wapi, anaenda mahali kuna Wakikuyu tu. He doesn't go somewhere else. That is a kind of petty politics. Kama angekuwa mtu anataka if he's trying something else, kutoa Ruto, hangekuwa tu Mount Kenya, anaenda Meru, anarudi Central, anarudi Kajiado hapa kando mahali kuna Wakikuyu wengi. That is a tribal politics. I expected something that broader. Kina Kalonzo ndio nilikuwa wanatarajiwa kunini. They are just sijui anafanya nini. I mean, this country sometimes is very funny. Na unasikia huyo Kalonzo akiingia kwa TV tu anaanza kuongea, Raila ni mbaya, Raila amefanya hivi. Sasa badala yeye mwenyewe anajitengenezea, he has a very good chance of even introducing himself to all parts of Kenya. Hata yeye anafuata kazo nani amesema anatengeneza chama chake na watasimamisha mtu from president to MCA. Sasa it means Kalonzo naye amepigwa under the bus. He doesn't know what to do. I mean, sometimes it's good to walk alone. Ukitembea peke yako unaenda mapema na unaenda haraka kuliko kwenda kusukumwa na watu. Bernard, thank you so much Bernard. Najua nimeingia late and najua unaingia kanisani leo. Thank you so much Bernard.
Yeah, thank you Big J. Najua siasa ya Kenya kupika ni ngumu. Baba ndo najua jinsi ya kupika hii kitu. Amenyamaza tu anachora. Hao wamengoja ichorwe, kisha lainika ndio wanaanza kusema mpaka nikuwe running mate. Mpaka nikuwe presidential candidate. Sasa saisi umeachiwa uwanja wazi. Panga kitu tuone kile umepanga. Hakuna natengeneza chama yangu, Matiang'i ndio presidential candidate wangu, Maraga sikuwe presidential candidate anaharibia Matiang'i. They are just going through circles and
Bernard,
not,
kwanza hiyo ya Mati, Bernard, pole
yes,
pole.
yeah,
Hii kwanza hiyo ya Matiang'i ndio ingine inanibo.
yeah.
Sijaijua kwamba Matiang'i is a coward like that. Because kama anataka kuwa president, he have never said in public that I want vile nani Maraga amesema. Maraga ametangaza kwamba okay, I want to do this. But Matiang'i anatuma kina sijui Senator Onyonka, sijui nani wa Kisii huko kando kando. Badala yeye mwenyewe akuje. Kwani what's wrong with that?
No, then I don't think that is a coward. It's part of his strategy. But okay, from the fact that he has not spoken, he has not held any press conference, he has not expressly showed that he's running for president. These people are talking on their own volition. He's not sending them. We have people who are obsessed with him being president to a level that they can't wait for him to declare. And that's why when Baba said that this Matiang'i you're asking me about, he has not said he's running. And if he's running on the premise that he has the Kisii support, Kisii's vote is not enough to make him president. And now everybody goes berserk and begins to say that Baba is belittling Matiang'i. But from all indications, there is no video, there is no presser, there is no posting, there is no X handle that says Matiang'i is running for president. The only a few people, Onyonga and it's called who? Jeremiah Kioni, okay, that are talking about Matiang'i's presidency. They have already made him a Jubilee candidate, but he has not said. So from all that is happening, I think there is a bigger game that is being played. There's rumored that there are some hidden meetings taking place on that particular aspect of drawing the 2027 roadmap. And I think everybody's in this, only that they are playing safe. They are playing safe. And what I see happening is the Maraga ticket should not be dismissed. Should not be dismissed. Matiang'i has a baggage that he has to fight off. But what we have right now doesn't need us to go and reassure people about somebody who has a baggage. We need a clean ticket, especially to get those, those non-tribal votes. Non-tribal votes are the votes that are going to vote for a particular clean ticket, regardless of their tribal and regional originality. Then also the issue of Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya makes you president, then they take you hostage. I think Baba is walking away from that. He doesn't want that trap again of getting enormous votes from a particular region. Then that region holds you hostage. You have to do this. You have to give them 8 CSs. You have to give them 8 ambassadorial appointments. You have to give them 7 what and what because of those votes. So there is a redefining moment at the moment where the liberty of the Kenyan people need to be realized through this particular coming elections. And so I see a clean ticket that is going to be like Kibaki's 2002. And if we get that clean ticket and it sweeps the country clean, Ruto is gone. Ruto is gone. But if we play Kati that we are playing, and that's what I see. We play Kati in terms of get everybody to have their presidential candidate. Then we have our tribal presidential candidates. Every tribe has brought a presidential candidate. Then Ruto is going to ride it home because that's going to force a runoff. And the best way for Ruto to force himself into office is to work hard to become number 1 or number 2. And then when the rest of the people have gone home, the rerun will not have a good turnout in the going to vote, and so it may just happen to be an issue of, things turning around, and it may just fall into the lap of William Ruto again. And so Kenyans must be trading carefully and ensuring that things are not, especially should not be left to chance. Everybody needs to invest their energy and their focus into ensuring that we don't get back to where we are. I think we have fallen too much and we can't fall any further. Putney says, I can't vote Matiang'i. Ruto used him in 2017 to kill another supporters. Those are some of the baggages I'm talking about. But I think that's what I'm saying. We need to have a ticket. If I should just throw this in, if we got a ticket like that of Maraga and Sifuna, it may work out some magic if they have the support of Baba and the support of other key leaders. That's a clean ticket that can sell. They are popular, they are known. Maraga has demonstrated he has a nerve. This country needs somebody who has a nerve, not this camouflage aspect of cleverness. We need somebody who can stand and say, you either follow the law or finishes you. If that is realized, that can work out. The Natembeya approach is not encouraging me at all. Is not encouraging me, and I think he may just get cornered in his own game. The politics of running everyone, running others down so that you remain up, that never works much. It is unsustainable, and as long as that your enemy becomes your friend, you have no other thing to tell the people. Okay, or if that enemy of yours get out of the way, you have nothing else to tell the people. And so Natembeya was promising, but I think he's sucked into the politics of fighting Wetangula and Musalia too much, that he is now becoming irrelevant, to say the least. If he does not change tag, he will just be forgotten. And it's very sad for such thing to be happening. I don't see why we especially I speak for the Luya community, that you hold a meeting, you call it a Mlembe Nation meeting, and then you speak. I mean, umeita mkutano Buhungu Stadium, mkutano ni ya watu wa Mlembe, alafu 99% of your discussion is ODM and Raila Odinga. That simply means hauna agenda, hauna lolote ambalo unataka kwa haya mambo isipokuwa kumdhalilisha Raila Odinga na ODM. Na kwangu mimi hiyo haionyeshi uongozi. The same thing that Salasia is doing. Okay? Salasia thinks he can erase ODM from Kakamega. I really don't get it. Salasia is a member of parliament by accident. He's a member of parliament because Azimio had 3 candidates. Alipita katikati, aliponea chupu-chupu. Sijui alipata kura ngapi, mtanitafutia wenye data mniambie. Lakini kulikuwa na ODM, kulikuwa na UDA, kulikuwa na EDAP, na kulikuwa I think na Ford Kenya. All of them in Mumias East. So he got the seat because the votes were divided. But now he's posing as if he's the king of Kakamega politics. That to me is a mess, and I don't see him succeeding. And then, of course, the Luya politics is cannibalizing in the sense that when you are an accident member of parliament and you have several incumbents that you flawed in the last elections and you play carelessly the way he's playing, he would definitely get eliminated. That's how things work. Nduati, I hear you, but you are encouraging Salasia the wrong way. Salasa may not make it back to parliament. It doesn't matter how well he has worked. Luya politics are very different from your politics. So what I'm saying is something valid that he needs to recheck. And from the fact that he's fighting people that are bigger than him, his thinking is almost definite. He needs to change tag and surround himself with the elders who are going to guide him. But if he continues doing what he's doing, smoking on the screen and campaigning on TikTok and being full of insult, fighting in funerals and slapping people, no. Duati, I promise you, you will be on this show to tell me. All in all, I want us to end it there. Thank you very much, everyone. Reverend Lala, I'll give you the last word, but please take less than a minute. Less than a minute, 30 seconds. 30 seconds, Big J tukifunga. But nikumbushe tu mwezi ndio huu naisha. Leo ni 30th. Naomba tafadhali tufanye nini? Saidie kulipa bills. Kijana yetu yuko sawa. Amekuwa hapa. Is now on break mpaka Monday when he resumes class, to support them and of course the upkeep, the rent and everything else. So to see Lege, we still have to hold them their hand and make sure that they are stabilizing before we let them run by themselves. So na kuhimiza tu usichoke katika masuala ya kusupport Sound Candy Talk na kusupport Frank wetu. Frank ni wetu sote, si wa mtu mmoja. Naomba sisi sote tujitolee kuhakikisha kwamba tunamsaidia na tunasaidia huyo Shosho. Shosho ameshughulika naye unajua nursing not even a teenage boy, yes, to that level. And when he was frail, me, I have a first-hand experience. I visited Frank when his wounds were still wet, when he was still undergoing surgery. And if I had any, the situation looked hopeless. In fact, I didn't know what to tell him. I wasn't sure he would walk again. That's how bad things were. But now that Shosho standing by the boy, running around with those x-rays, get this done. Sai Shosho amechoka, tumsaidie, tuhakikishe kwamba kijana anasimama, anafanikiwa, alafu ana take care ya Shosho. Thank you everybody who is sending in their contribution. Please, details ziko hapa. Tumia hizo details, alafu tusikie vile unang'amua kwa mambo haya. Reverend Lala, half a minute, and then
half a minute. Yes, Bwana Nduati, I think I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know why lawyers should leave ODM. That you've never. Is it because Salasia was seen with Gachagua, so he can just convince all the lawyers to leave ODM? I mean, let's think a little bit. Let's use our brain a little bit. Salasia has got a lot of talents, but he has a lot of growing to do. He needs to grow up. Okay, as Ben has stated, I think lawyers are smarter. They think, they have a clear understanding of what they want, what they need. And lastly, of course, I think the media is a great thing. The social media is a great thing, but it is also the devil because there are so many things online that we read and see, and they're purely from hell. They don't mean anything, and they try to convince people, and people are jumped into the social media and is actually taking us to a place where I don't, none of us want to be. So let us love our nation. Let us love truth. Let us stick with what is working, and let us not cheat our people. And let us grow up. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bernard.
Well, thank you, Lala. Before Big J makes his submission, I should throw this in. Luya Nation is leaving ODM. Luya Nation is the leader of ODM. Luya Nation has the greatest stake in ODM. Secretary General Nwetu, Chairman wa ODM wa Nairobi Nwetu. What do you want us to tell you? Deputy party leader Nwetu. I mean, there is a lot going for ODM. There's a lot going on in ODM for the Luya Nation than anything else. And those who are making their regional parties or their tribal parties, ODM is bigger than a tribal party. So the best thing I would advise is people should join, should leave tribal parties and join national party like ODM. But those who would want to revert back to their regional or tribal parties, congratulate yourself. You have examples to follow. Look at Ford Kenya. Ford Kenya was a force to reckon with. It has remained not even a Bukusu now party. It's now a Bungoma party. It's not even the entirety of Bungoma. And so if we really for democracy and we really want Kenya to move forward, we shouldn't be advocating for tribal and regional political parties and asking people to leave our party simply because you want to make it a Luo party. That's wrong advice, and it should not be coming from us. Putni anasema nafunga show mapema. Pole na sio kupenda kwangu. Ni majukumu mengi, alafu vijana wapo mpaka Monday. We make sure that we close camp on Friday, and also is very expensive to keep everybody here and get everything running. But I hope kesho nitakuwa after church, I'll be stronger. We'll have plenty of time, and Alexio pia anaweza kupatikana leo, ameshikika, hawezi kuja kuendeleza show. But we are trying to try. Keep supporting us and let's keep going. Big J.
Yeah, thank you, Bernard. And Kenya is the most interesting country, and the Kenyan people, they are very funny, because one thing I came to realize is that Kenyan people at times they support rogue people. When somebody is so rogue, somebody is very corrupt, somebody who's they support that kind of a person, not because of his integrity, not because of they don't care. Akiwa mtu tu naughty, they support that kind of a person, which I fail to understand. I think it's we have been given a new chapter that we have to think more seriously about politics, about the elections, the people that we put in office. Of course, Matiang'i told us that watu wa wash na nini wataingia parliament. Exactly 22 those people came in. Wauaji. Watu wa madeals. Naona kama ule jamaa wa Kisii alikuwa anaonyesha magari na hajakuwa MP for 3 years. Magari zile ako nazo. People have, this 2022 election has made trillionaires. So, and that is the kind of people that we give our space. So I think it's time that we think about our country, and we don't need that. What Kenya need, they don't need tokens. They need services. They need like SHA ifanye kazi. They need wawe na barabara ya kusafirisha chakula yao kutoka kwa shamba, shule zijengwe. That is exactly what Kenyan people want. They don't want his token at naenda kanisa na wapatia 20 million na wapatia sijui nini. It doesn't. I mean, Hizo ni politics ambayo I want to say no to that kind of politics. I want us now to be very serious on who we choose to be in the office so that we can have good leaders to develop our country. We are always talking about Malaysia, which is a dream. Which will never be, will never come. How can that dream come? Na wale watu wanawekwa hapo kuongoza, they are the most corrupt. Wanaenda wana withdraw 5 billion without a proper arrangement of the government. That means that the state has powers to go on in the central bank and withdraw the money without approval from parliament. So that means parliament has no work. Parliament hawana kazi saizi because they don't approve anything. Hata mapolisi walipelekwa nje. It was not approved by parliament. So then I ask myself, what is the need? What's the work of parliament? We don't need parliament anymore. We have to think about that seriously. We need a working parliament. We have 3 arms of government, the judiciary, the parliament, and the executive. We need each and every of it to do their own job. But now the executive is controlling parliament, is controlling judiciary. So now Wakenya wa kawaida watakuwa wapi? That is the biggest question that we should ask ourselves. Thank you so much, Bernard.
Asante sana Big J, we appreciate that. Mama amefika leo kuchelewa, lakini mtapatia nafasi kidogo tu. Nduati, mimi nakwambia hivi, you can't count on destroying somebody's house so that you use the material to build yours. If you are indeed in politics and you want to build a political party, just build a party parallel to ODM. You don't have to run down ODM in order for you to have relevance of making a nini. And the ground is shifting to what? To tribal parties? I don't think so. And I don't know if you understand Luya politics. Luya politics is not like Luo politics, and it's not like Mount Kenya politics. It's very different. Ask Mudavadi. I mean, ODM would have ended when Mudavadi and Ababu Namwamba left. Those were the bigwigs in terms of the surviving of ODM. But ODM took more grounds in Western Kenya after Mudavadi leaving and Ababu Namwamba and even Otuoma alikaa kwa fence, saa ndio amerudi tu kiasi. So I don't think there will be any whatever tending on the ODM in Western Kenya if the only thing they are fighting is the Tawe movement and Salasia. Please. ODM has more roots than those people. Usijidanganye. And I'm not just saying that because I'm an ODM member. I think we have seen ODM and how much it has emerged. And as long as Baba is still around, pushing ODM off is not going to be that easy. Right now, people are angry, yes. People are saying whatever they want to say. But for Salasia, I can dismiss it. Somebody sent me the WhatsApp messages he was sending. Watu wachukue video, wachukue wamama wapige kelele, wapost hiyo video wakati bado ina trend, ili ionekane kwamba Waluhya wamekasirika. So all those things are content creation. It has nothing to do with the ground. And especially Kakamega. Hapana. Well, mama, salamu za leo pamoja na kufungua na kufunga. Karibu.
Asante Penat, nimeingia sahi. Ni vile tu tumesoea hii channel, ukiingia kitu ya kwanza hata badala ya kukunywa maji, nukikimbia kutafuta. Otherwise, Penat, sina mambo mingi ya kusema, kwa sababu sijui mulikuwa mumeendelea aje, lakini chenye labda nilipitia kidogo ni hii mambo ya Sudan. Baba alienda huko akakutana na President, akatumwa akutane na Museveni, arutishe report. Kwa wale watu wanajua mambo, it is a worrying thing. Kwa sababu your next door wakiwa na shida na vile inchi na yumba yumba, the nation of generation, the 21st century. Si ati Kenya peke yake, ni vile vijana wengine sa inchi ingine wamekasiwa, lakini wakipata hiyo nafasi Bernard, Kenya may not, or ama East Africa may not be the same. So mimi kwangu naona kama wanaweza kaa chini na kutuliza, na alafu pia wanasema they were very concerned kwa sababu kuna general aliuawa, alafu kuna watu wameuawa, of which hata mtu moja, hata even if it is not a general, lakini siasa ya hii nchi ya nini inaonekana itakuwa na mambo mingi, but I hope vile baba amesema international community wataingilia. So my thing is this, Bernard, why was it like Museveni lazima aulizwe? Na unajua watu ya Uganda wanalalamika, wanasema Museveni amechukua maaskari ya Uganda bila authority ya parliament. Wanashangaa hata hao wako na mstuko mingi sana, because Kenya kama watatuma maaskari itakuwa imepita parliament, na kwa sababu ya East Africa. Sasa sijui kama Museveni ako na Salva Kiir na hii group ingine ya opposition, na kuna ile shida ya Sudan original. So kama South Sudan na ile Sudan itakuwa stable, Bernard, refugees wale wataingia kwa hizi nchi yetu ni mingi sana. But again, of which interest? Hii mambo yote inapiganishwa watu yetu ni wapi? Inatoka international community ama ni sisi wenyewe? And Museveni nao ping anaulizwa maswali, ako na cheo gani? Kwa sababu nilikuwa nafikiria wakati walikaa chini, I thought Ruto is supposed to be the chairman of East Africa as for now, but I don't know. So it is worrying. Tungetaka South Sudan wakuwe na peace, of which at least walifanya mzuri wakamusikia. So nimeona ingine ya Gachagua lakini sijasoma. Naona Gachagua pia labda amefurahi, Raila amerudi ama sijui. I don't know. Hii nchi Sudan ikiharibika, are we safe in Kenya? Mapunduki sikaanza kukuja kwa mkono yetu, Sabulala ni mtu ya serikali. South Sudan ni mambo ikiharibika, will we be safe? Thank you, Bernard.
Okay, thank you, Mami. Interesting questions, and maybe I'll just say that Ruto is still the chairman of East African. He has a post there, but there is ICAD, and I think Museveni has a role in that ICAD part. Probably that is why his view is needed on the matter of South Sudan. But the situation in Southern Sudan is a bit complicated because we are talking about president and vice president not agreeing. So the complication is much. And then, of course, Southern Sudan has been, it came out of a long, stretched civil war. Remember that the reconstituting of Southern Sudan came out of a long, outstretched civil war. And that civil war, I think, was not well settled by the sudden death of Ngaran. So there are a lot of underlying things, and I think it's still springing from the same thing. And so it needs to be handled with great care. The interest of the international community and, of course, the interference of the neighbors, like I think Uganda has an interest, and Ruto has an interest, and there are other players. So I just pray that they will come to their senses and put the country ahead of their personal interest and their personal preference. But from the way things are boiling, things will not be good. You know, the instability in Southern Sudan or instability anywhere of our neighboring country, we carry the burden because the refugees will be here. They will all run to here. And when they run here, we begin to compete over the resources. Those of you are familiar with Nairobi, there's a particular section of Nairobi Eastlands where the whole estate are Sudanese. Okay, and then they come in with their money, and suddenly the rent of that place hikes because they pay any amount because they need the houses. And so we will always suffer when there is instability, and that's why it's better to abort the process of the instability in any of our neighboring countries to safeguard our resources. And it's bad enough that our current administration seems not to be keen on that. They would rather have refugees in the country, and they want them to be assimilated so that they can make them voters. It's very crazy on how this administration thinks. But for Gachagua, Lala, I'll give you your last minute. Gachagua was taking on Kahariri, the CDF man. He says yeye ni mtu wake wa nyumbani, lakini masuala ya kuingilia masuala ya siasa achane nayo, la sivyo itamletea dosari katika kazi yake ya kuwa CDF wa army. The army should stay off the day-to-day politics of the country. That was, of course, the rallying call of Gachagua to the CDF. I think that is all. Nani asked me a question. Putney asked, what about Maraga Kalonzo? Maraga Kalonzo ticket has a problem because we must balance between the age groups. Age groups. We cannot have all the people not with the Gen Z approach and consideration. We need somebody, if we have Maraga at 75 or 76 thereabout, we need somebody who is either slightly below 50 or 50 thereabout, so that there is that aspect of connection to the youthful vote, which is a very important vote at this point in time. That is if we will get them to register and become voters, and then of course get them to go out and vote. And so the ticket must balance. Either we have a male, female, we have an elder and a youthful person. That will work magic. That's my calculation. So putting Maraga and Kalonzo together, wote ni wazee na italeta kizaazaa. We may just lose the youthful vote on the same. And that's why I was talking about Maraga Sifuna. Sifuna is youthful, energetic, and a very pro-West, wherever committed to the application and the followership of the law. Maraga the same. And so tukiweka wote wana sheria na tunahitaji sheria katika nchi hii, tutakuwa tumepona. If they will play according to the book. And even if we do something like, let's just play around with that. There's still time. Nothing is cast in stone, but the Kalonzo Maraga, hiyo sioni ikiinuka. Tunahitaji kitu ambayo tukitangaza inapaa mara moja na tunamaliza game first round. Yes, Lala, ulikuwa unasemaje quickly please, naomba.
Nilikuwa na Mama Selina, habari Mama Selina. Nilikuwa nasema tu kuhusu Museveni. Museveni ana wanajeshi wake ambao wana support Kiir. They are deployed there in Sudan, South Sudan. So Museveni hold the power in Sudan. So Baba had to go and talk to him about about those kinds of tuseme yani ingawa Kiir is in power, lakini there are other powers there that are operating underneath, and one of them is Uganda. In fact, this is March the 5th in Juba. South Sudan soldiers surround Riek Machar's home in the capital, and that is, and then I think Ugandan military is also deployed. I think that's after that. I think they were there probably a little earlier. So the pact between Museveni and Kiir is that anything happened to Kiir, Museveni will be there. And that's why Kiir primarily probably doesn't have as much say in the whole thing. Probably soldiers, but the man behind the power is Museveni. Even though what Bernard stated is, the UGAD, and he has to brief all these people, but the agency in which Baba moved to Uganda, based on what I see here, if you Google and see the soldiers there, it tells you more that Museveni has the military power over there. So I don't know how to interpret that, lakini Museveni lazima azungumziwe, manake army ya Uganda iko hapo Juba. Asante.
All right. Thank you, Reverend Lala, for that clarification. And of course, that hiyo tabia sasa ndio imeleta kizaza. Museveni has army in Southern Sudan. Mtoto wake Kagame akona army or rather soldiers in Congo. That invasion of neighbors in the name of supporting, it's not even in line with international laws, international rules of engagement. We were not supposed to send any soldiers to an immediate neighboring country. So why should that be happening? South Sudan, Uganda, and then, of course, Rwanda, and then Democratic Republic of Congo. Something needs to be done urgently in securing all those countries. And then, of course, we'll, I think, give it an African look maybe tomorrow, today in the evening in the show, so that we analyze about
Bernard, let me read you something here. This is on March 11th. Kampala, Uganda. Uganda has deployed a known number of troops to South Sudan in bid to protect the fragile government of Kiir Salva as tense rival deputy, whatever. Uganda special forces have been deployed to Juba, the South Sudan capital, to support the government of South Sudan against possible rebel advance in the city, said Major General Kulainge, a spokesperson for Ugandan military. So it is not just a say, it's there, they are there. Okay, we sent a force there 2 days ago, he said, we are not there for peacekeeping. In deploying Ugandan soldiers to Juba, Uganda, Yoweri Museveni moved as a guarantor of peace process that keeps Kiir, whatever. Kiir and Museveni are allies, and Museveni has in the past intervened in the Southern Sudan. So there's an interest there. Museveni is there, and it's, so he's Baba had to go and talk to him. Thank you.
Oh, it's awesome. Thank you, Lala. We appreciate that. Thank you, Mami. Thank you, everybody who has participated to make this show a success. Caro, James, Tuni, of course, our PS, asante sana. Putni, of course, asante sana kwa kuendelea na kuchangia katika kipindi. Big J, of course, I really want to appreciate everyone. Sylvester, na kuona pale, na mwingine kuna John Dida, siku mingi. Fabiano, of course, thank you, Robert, Habel, and then, of course, William Adilo. Esther Stoll kama kawa, asanteni sana. Naomba tafadhali tufungie hapo, tukutane tutakapokutana, tuendelee kuchangia, kusaidia kipindi na kusaidia mtoto wetu ambaye ni Frank. Details mnazo, tutumie hizo ipasavyo. Until we meet again in the next show, God bless you. See you then.
Kutoka vijijini, mijini hadi jijini. Hii ni Sound Kanti Talk Live. Watu wa Mungu, Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Kipindi cha mahubiri kimerudi tena kwa kishindo kwenye Sound Kanti Talk. Tunakufundisha, kukuelimisha na kukutia moyo kwenye Daily Bite. Mafundisho kamili ya Biblia kila siku kwenye runinga uipenda ya Sound Kanti Talk.